name is Dennis Sperling. If you've been involved in an accident, call me, and I'll fight for you. I'm not an actor or a celebrity spokesperson. I'm a real trial lawyer, and I've appeared before real judges and real juries on behalf of people with serious injuries. So when I say I'll fight for you, I mean it, and I'll back it up. If you've been hurt in an automobile or 18-wheeler accident, contact me toll-free at 866-529-2444, and I'll fight for your rights.
This is a good dude, y'all. Coming in story, man, big time lawyer out here in Texas, man. He not tell a story, and y'all need to do the same.
Well, my books, I started writing these books in 2011, and they're called
Yeah, there we go.
Rules to Live By: How to Maintain Peace of Mind and Happiness in a Conflicted World. And you can get them on Amazon, and you can download them directly off Amazon and Kindle. Just look up Dennis Sperling, which is my name, Dennis Sperling, and type in Amazon. They'll come right up. If you want a hard copy, you can email me at sperlingdennis@gmail.com. If you want a copy of the books, and I'm telling you, I give you a lot of different scenarios. There's some child support stuff in here, but it's mostly a lot of different areas which I've had to deal with in my personal life. Those of you guys who have sons who have you just met, or sons who are separated from you, if you one of those young men, and I call myself the lost son, and I actually wrote a lot of music, man. Come to find out, man, I'm related to B.B. King through my grandmother. It was her cousin. That's like my cousin. So
he from Mississippi too.
Yeah. Her name was Elmira King. He was B.B. King. They were cousins, and they all lived out in that area, you know. And so come to find out, man, you know, music is in my blood. So I end up doing 7 albums with Beans and Cornbread. They produced Slim Thug, Paul Wall. Okay. I actually have a track with Paul Wall from back in the day. It's called Grown Man Stuff. But, you know, that's not something I want to go into. But bottom line is that creativity allows me to be who I am. But the books, you can find them on Amazon. You can do the Kindle thing. They're very interesting. They're a wonderful read. You can probably read them in 2 or 3 days, but they're great for young men who have grown up, who haven't had their fathers. It basically deals with everything that we as Black American men have had to deal with in the past 40 years.
Man, I was like, man, I was checking you out. I'm like, damn, this man a real deal. So yeah, definitely, man. We all got to reach back. You know what I'm saying? And we right now, like with Kev, we got Donovan, we got all these different brothers put in a network. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's using their talents to help each other get to the next level. Definitely love to bring you into the fold.
Definitely. You guys are amazing. All you guys, I just love to hear my Black brothers speaking their mind. I just want to hear you all say what it is that you want to say and speak on your behalf, because I know you're a little bit younger than I am, man, but hell, since the 1980s, all I've been hearing is Black men get bashed. They ain't this, they ain't that. We've had nobody to speak up on our behalf, so we've been told just to shut up and take it, be the strong, silent type. It's not manly for you to speak up. How dare you argue with these women, blah, 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 even if what they're saying is outright lies and what we know not to be true. Even in our religious, whether it's the church or the Black Muslims or any of these type of folks, it's always seemed like they rather bash the men as opposed to hold the ladies accountable. And that's unfortunate, because you've created this one-sided war, and you have one side that has no accountability for what they've done. And then now what? Look at where we are as a culture.
Brother DeBell 5000 got a question. Is there any way for family court laws to change if men and real women push to change it? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the fact that you have more women being forced to pay child support and alimony is probably the only thing that's going to make them say we need to change these laws. Because as long as it was one-sided and it was men paying women for the past, I don't know how many years, at least since
A lot
a
of
lot
years.
of years,
A lot of years.
then there was no incentive for women to even want to change anything because that's their fallback plan. I marry a rich guy, I have some kids, I divorce them, I'm good. But right. But now that women are being forced to have to ante up, I think there is some incentive for it to change. And here's another thing: a lot of those ladies who have sons who they've seen been manhandled by the child support system, they should become advocates for family law reform. I think one thing we should do is we should begin to do away with child support altogether.
Like they use Black men as a catalyst to get more funding for themselves to go in a different direction. What are your thoughts on Black Lives Matter as an organization?
I am not happy with Black Lives Matter as an organization. In fact, I'm absolutely disgusted by Black Lives Matter as an organization. These vultures, what they do is whenever a Black man is shot by a white cop or a white race soldier or one of these white suburban commandos, they come in to protest, and they only come in to protest if those Black men's lives fit a certain narrative. So Black Lives Matter is a very disingenuous organization. It talks about marching and protesting, but if we look at who they're marching and protesting for, oftentimes it is, again, Black men who are Pookies and Ray Rays who are shot and killed by a white police officer, a race soldier, or one of these white suburban commandos. They go out here, they kick up a fuss with this protesting, and they really are not anything about Black men or Black men's issues. Because when I look at Black Lives Matter, they don't talk about Black men's issues.
Dramatization.
After a car wreck, you may have to fight with a highly trained insurance company rep whose job is to knock your damaged claim down and out. It's a bad idea to enter the ring alone against a trained boxer, and it could be a bad idea to fight against a big insurance company by yourself. When the bell rings, attorney Dennis Sperling will be there to fight for your rights. If you've been seriously injured in a car wreck, call me, attorney Dennis Sperling, at 866-529-2444. That's 866-529-2444. Hey, what's up, everybody? If you appreciate the format and you appreciate what we're doing here, then make sure you contribute to the Cash App, make sure you contribute to the PayPal, make sure you donate to the Super Chat. It's only you and your contributions that keep this thing going. Thanks.
Attorney, reality show creator, and rapper Dennis Sperling. Also joining us is Sperling's good friends, Vondrick Christmas and Dion Dorsett. Welcome to The Factor Uncensored.
What's up, buddy?
Now, here's the thing. I've been reading your Facebook posts for years, and this is what you've been espousing. You're saying, I need to leave this country to find a good woman.
Yeah. Okay. See, first of all,
no backtracking now. No backtracking.
Like that, man. We don't need to smoke, man. We don't need that type of smoke. Okay. What happened was I got divorced, and I looked around and I said, you know, I want to change, you know, and I never really traveled. I went to school. These guys went to school with me, and they know all we did was study. And so I got married. That didn't work out. I got divorced, and then I said, well, you know what? Let me get a passport and see what that's like. So I started traveling overseas. I went to the Dominican Republic, Jamaica, all over London, Europe, things that I had never done before, and I liked it, and I liked what I saw, and I enjoyed myself. And when I did decide to date, I got treated like a king, so I go where I'm celebrated. You know, and that's basically it.
You're not celebrated here in the United States like you want to be.
Okay, see, what had happened was I got divorced. You know, but I'm gonna be honest with you guys. My Facebook posts are real, but really they're the feelings that a lot of African American men and men in general feel. They say, look, the juice is not worth the squeeze. I work all my life. I do everything I can to please my wife, and then she divorces me. 70% of marriages are brought to divorce by the women in those relationships. So clearly people aren't happy. Look at the marriage rate. Look at the depression rate that we have. I think people need to get out a little bit more. But more importantly, you know, it's something that I like. These guys, I know that they don't feel the same way I do because my Facebook page has a diverse group of guys with different ideas. And so this is just what works for me, you know?
And so what works for you guys?
So I would say that
and then it depends on what type of
And
man
is
you are.
anything wrong with that?
Nothing.
Requiring more?
No, it's nothing wrong with that at all. It's just, you know, those expectations seem for some guys maybe a little bit much.
I argue all day, and I don't have time to come home and argue.
And so that's what you get with
what
you perceive to be an American woman.
I think that American women, they have so much pressure on them that it's nearly impossible for them to fulfill those traditional roles that women have fulfilled all the way up until the 50s when industrialization and it's impossible for them to do that. So the culture and what we have going on here in the United States makes it impossible to have one of those traditional relationships. Whereas in Colombia or the Dominican Republic or Haiti, the women, they still have that culture that says, hey, I'm cooking and cleaning for my man, but hey, there's some responsibilities on the men too, because those women, they still want men that take care of business, that go to work, that pay bills. So you have a role you have to fill, and she has a role she has to fill. So it's not like I'm just going down there sitting up on the sofa and she's making mango every day, feeding me like I'm a king.
You never get flack from, I hate to say it, man, but you're a successful brother.
Yeah.
And I'm a successful man. I don't get flack from my peers. I don't get flack from guys that are up here doing the things we're doing. Regardless of where the comma is, you tend to get flack from guys who are not where they want to be.
Right.
And it's like, look, man, and here's one thing that's unique about the Black community. We got the barbershop experience, and that takes anywhere from the homeless dude to the D-boy to the corporate exec. We all go to the same spot, and that's one thing that's unique about us is the socioeconomic groups. We mix, and we all look at each other as men. And I'm like, no, there's white men, non-Black men have long been able to do all these things, but when Black men just do what's normal and natural, we're muted. And that's what brothers are finally starting to push back and fight against, because that's crazy to think that you shouldn't have a younger woman, especially if you can pay the cost to be the boss and provide. That's the ideal situation.
It is
ideal situation because she never has to go outside and work and get outside of her femininity.
It seems to me, for those who say this is bad for the Black community, it would seem to me that the perfect pairing is a mature older man with resources who's proven himself, and a younger fertile woman who can come together and reproduce children in a safe family environment. I believe in marriage. I don't like the family laws that are set up but I do believe in marriage. I think men are better in marriage when they have loving women who care for them, who are reciprocate, who are feminine, and who are there to help them be the best men they can be. I believe in marriage. I just don't like the way the system is set up. Now, there are some things you can do to mitigate that: prenuptial agreements, postnuptial agreements, have an understanding, put some money in trust account. So you can eliminate the financial incentive in getting a divorce, and there you are. Now you got a person in front of you. But
I'm glad that we actually got a high value man. Shout out to Kevin Samuels. I'm not sure if you've been following the high value movement, but you know what I'm saying, you definitely would fit that description. I mean, a lawyer, you know what I'm saying? You went about it the right way. You're married. Unfortunately, the marriage didn't work out, but you got to do what you got to do. Yeah. And what you have to do is co-parent. And we hear the women all the time tell us stories about how I'm such a good, we co-parent good. It's always the women talking about it. You know what I'm saying? But you as a black man, high value black man, it's very important that you get a perspective and give the brothers the right advice as far as co-parenting. And it seems like that's been the bulk of your work, you know what I'm saying? Outside of the law, you know, you've been really pushing for co-parenting and just showing the dynamics of it and how it should work and how it can work in harmony. Because again, you don't have no ill will against your wife. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not saying it on your show.
You know what I'm saying? So you ain't cooking her. So I mean, it seems like everything, you know, you got everything copacetic. So talk to the brothers who may be going through a divorce.
Well,
who may be in a situation where, look, man, I had a kid with this woman and I got all these things going, but I'm trying to make sure I keep harmony for the sake of the kids, because that's who it's about.
Well, let me say this, brother. I got divorced for a reason.
Okay.
And I, in the wake of that divorce, 5 years thereafter, I got myself what's called a baby mama. I don't know if you've heard of that, but life got real.
I've heard of that. Have we heard of that, church?
Yeah, it got complicated after that happened because the children were born under two separate circumstances. So I can pull from both of these, you know, to kind of explain, you know, what happened. Now, I would suggest that you never get a baby mama if you can avoid one, but it happened to me. But basically I think my point is you can't co-parent with everyone, period. If you weren't married to that woman, if you were married to a woman, hopefully you guys came to an accord at some point and you can use that as a foundation to begin to co-parent and do what's in the best interest of the child. Now, if you had one night when you turned up at the club and you just randomly met some woman and you have nothing in common with her and you don't know much about her and you guys have two different set of principles and understanding about how life should be and how children should raise, it's going to be very difficult for you to co-parent with that person. So
is that the case with the baby mama?
Probably so.
Hi, my name is Dennis Berlin. I'm not a lawyer, but my daddy is. Yeah. If you've been hurt in a car accident, then call my daddy. No need to scream and yell like a little kid. Yeah, no yelling. My daddy will fight for your rights. Yeah, fight for your rights. If you've been involved in a car accident, call my daddy, returning Dennis Berlin.
Hello, I'm attorney Dennis Berlin. If you've been injured in a car wreck, call me at 713-229-0770.
Call my daddy.
Hey, what's up, everybody? If you appreciate the format and you appreciate what we're doing here, then make sure you contribute to the Cash App, make sure you contribute to the PayPal, make sure you donate to the Super Chat. It's only you and your contributions that keep this thing going. Thanks.
Understanding about life. I know what it is to be with a woman and how you have to treat a woman and how you have to pick and select a woman. And you do a great job at explaining to these young men what they don't want and what they should be looking after. I didn't have somebody like you when I was a young man. You see,
yeah. Do you believe in marriage, and would you get married again?
I would definitely get married again. It would definitely be a different kind of woman. It would definitely be a woman not from the toxic culture that I was raised in. Okay. And so it's not a race thing, it's a culture thing. Okay. Let me say that again for the people in the back. It's not a race thing, it's a culture thing. I typically have only dated Black women, Black American women. I tried to date the Jamaican lady who ended up being my child's mother, but she was Black American in her culture because she was raised in the United States. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't good women out there, but what I'm saying is you're looking at a toxic culture that does not put the family first. They put the me first. They put the get the bag first. And so it's impossible to have a union with somebody like that. we got a lot of stuff going on politically. And the question that I presented today for the brothers here is, this is my statement. Just because Trump has been voted out doesn't mean that the show is over. 70 million fervent followers voted for him in 2020, despite knowing all of his shortcomings. Trump is a symptom. He is a reflection of how nearly 1/2 of Americans feel. How does this affect Black men? Let's talk about it. And as the opening statement, it was 2021 and beyond. 70 million Trump voters aren't going anywhere. Look, unless you've been living under a rock, you know that 5 people have been shot and killed in Washington, D.C. As of now, related to the protest outside the Capitol building. One of them is this gentleman, Benjamin Phillips. He basically runs a Trump website, pro-Trump website called Trumparoo, where patriots can mobilize against the corrupt, communist, Marxist, scummy Democrats. Here's another one. We just learned avid Trump supporter Kevin Greeson, who regularly posted online about getting his guns and taking the country back, was one of the 4 people who died in the siege. It was 5 people who died in the siege of the Capitol. Post from Greeson wishing bad things to happen to Nancy Pelosi and identifying with the Proud Boys were found as well. So here's what I'm saying, fellas. These guys, these people are not going anywhere.
And just explain to them generally.
Well, the context of that video was me making a commentary on how people are not really looking objectively at your Donald Trump. And because they're not looking at him objectively, they are approaching him from a position, as I see it, of obsession. Because when I look at the way the Congress has been acting, I look at the way the Senate has been acting, I look at the way people on the street have been acting, and it's like they're not thinking critically or objectively about anything Donald Trump is about. They're coming at it from this position of this extreme emotion. And because they're coming from this extreme emotion, they only think from this perspective of obsessively about Donald Trump. It's all about either you're extremely for Trump or you're extremely against Trump. And these people who are obsessed with Donald Trump, they aren't really thinking about the harm they're doing to the American people.
I will scream and I will holler. Then I'll scream and holler some more, saying absolutely nothing.
You have a choice in legal representation. And in making that choice, do you want an attorney with a made-for-TV nickname to represent you in your serious car wreck claim?
I will growl, kick, and scream.
My name is Dennis Sperling. If you've been involved in a motor vehicle accident, contact me toll-free at 866-529-2444. The choice is yours. Good evening, you guys. This is Dennis Sperling, and I'm back again. Before we get started, I really just want to thank you guys. I want to thank everybody who follows my page. First of all, I want to thank you guys for day in and day out, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, listening to these both the planned and also the rants. The vlogs that I have. I really appreciate it. I do my best to bring the highest quality programming to you. I don't want to waste your time. I truly value your time. And so, the fact that I have so many people that participate in this, it really keeps me going. Like I just
for the past, I guess, maybe almost a year now, you know, I've dedicated a large part of my time to research and delivery. In other words, I've researched these things. Some topics I'm familiar with, some I'm less familiar with, but I try to bring to you what you want. I will oftentimes spend hours scouring the different social media sites to see what's on people's minds. And I will bring you just a large array of topics. We don't want to just, here, I don't want to just stick to one topic. I want to talk about, we can be as diverse as relationships. We can talk about war heroes. We can talk about the social climate. We can talk about so many different things here. And I feel that it enhances you. It definitely, I would hope, you know, increases your conversation and your knowledge of the world. But, you know, without you guys, none of this works. So, you know, I just want to just thank, of course, I always want to thank my members, but I want to thank the folks who just watch and view and who enjoy what we're doing here. I'm enjoying it, you know, so just give a big shout out to yourselves, right? Hit the #1 button for everybody who's here, everybody who's looking forward to this programming this evening. You know, it's been fun. It's been exciting. The interaction with the public. You know, I've met some new people that I really enjoy. And of course, you know, some of you guys, this is your first time being able to encounter this level of kind of conversation. It's like TV when you can talk to the guy who's talking, right? And it's free for the most part, right? You know, and I know that's cool, you know, and I understand that, you know, this is entertainment, right? But it's also educational. And I hope that I provide that for you. I hope that I'm being a benefit to society. I hope that I'm being a benefit to Black society and specifically Black men. This has definitely gone far beyond what I thought it was going to be. But I'm enjoying it, and I hope you guys can really appreciate what we're doing here. So in the meantime, we'll take a quick break and we'll come back and we'll get this thing started. We're talking about anti-Black racism in Latin America, pre-revolution club, Cuba, and Miami Exiles. I think this is an important topic, but you guys hang in there, hit the #1 button, and also make sure you contribute to the Super Chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. We'll be right back. Hey, what's up, everybody? If you appreciate the format and you appreciate what we're doing here, then make sure you contribute to the Cash App, make sure you contribute to the PayPal, make sure you donate to the Super Chat. It's only you and your contributions that keep this thing going. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Dennis Sperling. I'm not a lawyer, but my daddy is. Yeah. If you've been hurt in a car accident, then call my daddy. No need to scream and yell like a little kid. Yeah, no yelling. My daddy will fight for your rights. Yeah, fight for your rights. If you've been involved in a car accident, call my daddy, returning Dennis Sperling.
Hello, I'm attorney Dennis Sperling. If you've been injured in a car wreck, call me at 713-229-0770.
Call my daddy.
Hi, my name is Stephanie, and these are my 2 adorable and handsome sons. And that is my ex-husband, attorney Dennis Sperling. He practices personal injury law and will be more than happy to help you with claims arising from automobile accidents. He doesn't get paid unless you get paid. And as we first wives know, the more our ex-husbands get paid, the more we get paid. So let me help him help you. Call Mr. Sperling at 713-229-0770.
Call my daddy.
Okay, we are back. So we're talking tonight about anti-Black racism in Latin America, pre-revolutionary Cuba, and Miami Exile. So here's the thing you got to understand. And I'm going to actually deliver a series on anti-Black, on racism across the world. We have a lot of great philosophers. We have a lot of great freedom fighters who've come in the past, and they have their different definitions of what racism is. And I after studying them for years, literally since I was 7 years old, something that many of you guys don't know, I grew up around what you would call the conscious community. You know, it wasn't something that I looked to. It was something that was around me as a young man, whether it be attending the, you know, Minister Louis Farrakhan conferences and speeches as early as 7 years old, when I can recall, to listening to people have conversations about the proper name for Africa, whether it's Akebuland, Nigeria, all these different names, since I was a 7-year-old boy. So I grew up listening to that. And so, you know, I recognize a lot of things that most people actually didn't become conscious until they became of age, until they were 18, 19. Some people went to college. Some people got their what we call Negro wake up moment. And then they decided to gravitate towards Black consciousness. This is not something that I'm new to. And I've had, at this point, my entire life to digest it. And just like a good martial arts, I will take what works and leave behind what doesn't work. And this is how you are able to adapt and change. So there are some things that work and there are some things that don't work. And so in my life, I've been able to be successful with the things that do work. And so what I do here is I try to give you what actually is applicable and what works now. And so that's kind of what I do. But in the meantime, the thing you got to understand is there is racism in other places. There is racism in South America. There is racism in Central America. And despite what they tell you, you know, we're all one people. It happens because what they have is something called it's not a black white racism. It's not a white non-white racism. It's more of a dark to light racism. It's a cascade of color. It's a social privilege chart. And the closer you are to white or light, the more social privileges you're allowed. And that's generally how racism works in South America and Central America, because of course, part of their culture is to make the race lighter. And we'll read a little bit about that here in some of the documents that we have. And so that's kind of where we are. So what I want to do, folks, is I want you guys to just look at this video that I saw online, right? And I think it kind of speaks for itself. Now, interesting, you have in the beginning, you have a young woman who is an Afro-Latina, apparently. And you can tell she's Afro-Latina because she's brown skinned. You can tell by her. Maybe she's not, I don't know, but she looks Afro-Latina. Now, she's Latina, right? She's a Latino from that culture.
You get a lot of hate for if you say it out loud.
But she's also of African descent. And so there is, even though they're under the same culture, ethnically speaking, there's still some difference. Now, I want you to listen to what she has to say. If you can hear me, hit the number 1 button. And if you can hear her, hit the number 1 button when it starts. I'm gonna go ahead and let it play. You guys listen and you'll understand where I'm coming from. Now, the lady at the end is what we would call a white Latina. But just listen, you'll understand.
Something that you'll get a lot of hate for if you say it out loud.
I got a good one. Cubans that fled Cuba at the start of Castro's regime are direct descendants of Spanish colonizers and were Batista sympathizers. They fled Cuba because the revolution said eat the rich, and they did not want to give up their servants. And now they live in the United States, and they spend their time regurgitating right-wing talking points and use the words socialism and communism as scare tactics, because to them, socialism and communism means they have to give up their power. These people truly feel like they've worked for everything that they have, and they don't want to see other immigrants come and do exactly what they did. It's essentially the white privilege of the Hispanic world because they were colonizers. And this includes my family. I could go on, but I'll stop there.
Okay, so I hope you guys saw that, right? Did you get that? Did you get where she was coming from? I mean, she's basically saying that the white Cubans are the
you went from the 60s really messed up my life goals.
You run that up out of there.
You didn't want to.
You don't want to see that. But basically, that's what she's saying. She's basically saying that you know, they are the white folks of South America. So they're at the height, they're at the top of the social status. You see, and that's what the issue is oftentimes. What I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to go ahead and bring some articles up because I want you to see, and we'll look at that a couple more times if we need to. But in the meantime, you guys hit the #1 button. I'm going to take a quick break. I'll be right back while I load these articles up. I'll be right back here for a minute.
Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up, everybody? If you appreciate the format and you appreciate what we're doing here, then make sure you contribute to the Cash App. Make sure you contribute to the PayPal. Make sure you donate to the Super Chat. It's only you and your contributions to keep this thing going. Didn't come out on.
Hey, if you're enjoying the content here at Dennis Sperling Unfiltered, make sure you support it by sharing, and subscribing to the channel. And also hit that little notification bell in the corner so that you'll get noticed of each and every one of our live feeds.
The only time black men are allowed to speak is when it benefits others. So hey, this is your opportunity to speak. I want to hear from you. You want to make this voice louder and clearer. And what you need to do is contribute to the Cash App, PayPal, and the Super Chat. I appreciate you. Thank you, everybody, for your contributions. I appreciate it. Let's keep it going. Donate to the Super Chat. Donate to the PayPal. Donate to the Cash App. It's your contribution and your donations that will cause for this platform to grow. Let our voice be the preeminent voice of Black America.
Hi, my name is Stephanie, and these are my two adorable and handsome sons. And that is my ex-husband, attorney Dennis Sperling. He practices personal injury law and will be more than happy to help you with claims arising from accidents. He doesn't get paid unless you get paid. As we first wives know, the more our ex-husbands get paid, the more we get paid. So let me help him. Call Mrs. Sperling 713-229-0770.
Hi, my name is Dennis Sperling. I'm not loaded, but my daddy is. If you've been hurt in a car accident, call my daddy. No need to scream and yell like you're a little kid. My daddy, you're right. If you've been involved in a car accident, call my daddy, returning Dennis Sperling.
I'm attorney Dennis Sperling. Been injured in a car wreck? 713-229-0770.
Call my daddy.
The recent hurricane has caused severe damage to homes and property. Your home was damaged.
Paid actor.
I will scream and I will holler. Then I'll scream and holler some more. Saying absolutely nothing.
You have a choice in legal representation. And in making that choice, you want an attorney with a made-for-TV nickname to represent you in your serious car wreck claim?
I will grab, kick, and scream.
My name is Dennis Sperling. If you've been involved in a motor vehicle accident, contact me. Toll free 866-529-2444. The choice is yours. All right, so we're back. So I want you guys to take a look at this article from 1986. Cuban exiles are not golden. So this article is basically saying that they had a lot of Cuban exiles coming to the United States saying, hey, you know what? We're minorities. We're just like these folks. We need to get these benefits, right? You heard what the young lady said earlier about her very own family members. Basically, yeah, these are the ones that left Cuba because they didn't like the way Castro was treating them. And so they got up out of there, right? So let's read this article a little bit. November 15th, 1986. In 1969, social scientists buried the myth of the golden Cuban exile. Although this myth is now long dead, a few people still will not let it rest. The comment by Cuban American journalist in a recent column on this page regarding Mayor Harold Washington appointed Natalia Delgado, a Cuban American, to the Chicago Transit Authority is case in point. The myth of the golden exile postulates that since Cubans are white, middle-class, privileged group, they should not be entitled to the governmental assistance programs or protections available to other minorities. These assumptions may be true, but only for a small number of Cubans. So this was something that was visited when the Cubans first got here. All right, when the white Cubans first got here, people were saying, well, you know, these folks aren't really black like the rest of us. They really had servants and slaves, and they benefited, from the white privilege that they had back
in Cuba. So how can they then come here to the United States and benefit from all the hard work that people who have been, traditionally oppressed benefit from? And so this is not something that I'm making up. This is actually something that has been visited and revisited multiple times. So we can read a little bit more. Those who perpetrate the myth, and so they're basically saying it's a myth. I get it. I understand where you're coming from. But now, couple that with this young woman on Facebook who basically said, yeah, that's what our family did. Yeah. Is it really a myth? I don't think so. It is what we thought it was, basically. And so, we have to just kind of look at it. Let's address it and see what it is. Those who perpetrate the myth have done so at the expense of the realistic assessment of the needs of Cubans in the United States. Perhaps even more troubling, it appears that they have perpetuated it in order to keep Cubans from joining with other minorities in the quest for a more equal and just society. See, here's the thing. When you say Cuban, you're talking about a country, but we assume you're talking about a race. That's not exact. Cuba is filled with people of the whole cascade. They have a whole cascade of colors in Cuba. Matter of fact, I believe last we checked, 60% of Cubans identified as white and about 40% identified as Afro-Latino or Black or Negro or whatever you would call it. But the bottom line is they all fall under the nationality of Cuban, but even amongst themselves, there is that color barrier, okay? So when I say a Black person, we understand that we're all Black, we're all Americans, but there's many of us are different colors, okay? In Cuba, they all fall under that Cuban, and they are different colors, but they have a social hierarchy that's different. And typically what you'll find is the darker skinned people are lower on the social totem pole than the lighter skinned people. And the ones that are closest to white reap the vast majority of the social benefits. So that's the first thing I want you to understand. Now, here's the other thing. And then I'm going to save that article for last. Now, this young lady who we saw earlier, she was referring to the Cuban Revolution, right? And this was an armed revolt conducted by Fidel Castro and his fellow revolutionaries on the 26th of July. It's called the 26th of July movement, and it allies and its allies against the military dictatorship of Cuban President Batista. And that's who she's referring to. Batista was in charge. If you ever saw the Godfather 2, at the time of the Cuban Revolution, Cuba was like a haven for, mob guys, drug figures. You would go down there, do your dirt, then come back. This is kind of what Cuba was. It was like the Las Vegas of the Caribbean. You can go there, all sorts of stuff going on. Americans would jump down there, take their boats down there, hang out, do whatever they're going to do, come back. It was a rest haven for all sorts of foolishness, exploitation primarily by Americans. You see, and this is what they did. After Castro came in office, after Castro took over, he basically upset that. You had Black people, entertainers like Celia Cruz. She benefited from that rich elite, but the rich elite didn't like Castro because he was going to come in and upset the social system. One of the first things he did was, and I'll read it, the Cuban Revolution had a powerful domestic and international repercussions. Well, let me start here. The revolution began on July 1953 and continued sporadically until the rebels finally ousted Batista on the 31st of December 1958, replacing his government. On July 26, 1953, is celebrated as the Cuban Day of the Revolution. On the 26th of July, later reform along with Marxist, Leninist lines becoming the communist. So it's communist now by 1965. But the thing that we have to understand is that since the Cuban Revolution in 1959, the Cuban government has constantly criticized the United States for failing to address institutionalized racism. During his famed trip to New York in 1960, he attended the United Nations General Assembly meeting. That's where he got that picture from right there of him and Malcolm X. He stayed in the Teresa Hotel. I think he actually refused to stay in the Midtown Manhattan. Instead, he opted to go to Harlem, and that's where he took that famous picture with Malcolm X. Now, here's the thing: after the 1959 revolution, many white middle-class Cubans did immigrate. The income average for Cubans is higher than for other Hispanics, but is still significantly lower than the income average for white families. Leadership within the Cuban government has historically been mostly white, though former President Raúl Castro, who was Fidel Castro's brother, took steps to address this issue when he made way for the current President Díaz-Canel in 2018. However, when it comes to racialized police incidents in Cuba, including the very common racial profiling of Black Cubans on the streets of Havana, the government tends to deny existence of differential treatment. So they still have the issue there. When Fidel Castro came to power in 1959, his government set about eliminating discrimination within the public sphere and integrating public spaces such as beaches and parks, as well as education and employment. If you really just kind of just take a look at the history of Cuba, they still had a sort of segregation. They still had it. I was looking at some old pictures. They still had some segregation, some black-white segregation, even after 1955. And so there was still that same prejudice that existed in the United States and Cuba. So it was present. You see, now what I want you guys to do is understand that when Castro came in, he upset that social balance, right? The government saw Afro-Cubans as a disproportionate poverty as the main problem and focused on expanding education and healthcare to the whole population as a means of reducing racial inequality. In the space of only 3 years, Castro announced the racism had been eliminated due to the class restructuring that had taken place in the Cuban society. But see, here's the problem with that. The problem is that it really hadn't. They were just banned from talking about it. So Castro, he came in saying, we're going to eliminate it, it's over with, but it wasn't actually over with. Castro essentially prohibited any public discourse on racial difference, and this had a chilling effect on race-based civil rights organizations on the island, because at that time they had begun to organize Black voters and whatnot, people of African descent who happened to be in Cuba when their slave ship stopped, basically. And so these are our brothers too, our brothers and sisters. So we have to acknowledge that. And that's why this is something that we as Black Americans should be interested in, because they suffer too. Now, who were they suffering at the hand of? Well, let's go back to what this young lady had to say, right? This is out of her mouth, not mine. I want you guys to listen to it again. Here we go.
I got a good one. Cubans that fled Cuba at the start of Castro's regime are direct descendants of Spanish colonizers and were Batista sympathizers. They fled Cuba because the revolution said eat the rich, and they did not want to give up their servants. And now they live in the United States, and they spend their time regurgitating right-wing talking points and use the words socialism and communism as scare tactics, because to them, socialism and communism means they have to give up their power. These people truly feel like they've worked for everything that they have, and they don't want to see other immigrants come and do exactly what they did. It's essentially the white privilege of the Hispanic world, because they were colonizers. And this includes my family. I could go on and on, but I'll stop there.
Now, what this young lady is saying,
she'll get a lot of.
What that young lady is saying is, she said, what's something you get a lot of hate for if you say it out loud? So basically what she's saying is, like Black folks have our unspoken truths that we don't talk about. This is something that's apparently, in the Latino culture. It's something that they know exists in their culture, but they don't necessarily talk about it, right? And, because you'll get a lot of people trying to shout you down. I'm sure I get why. It's embarrassing. Who wants to let out that the fact that, here you are claiming that you're a minority, when in actuality, your descendants are the direct descendants from those Spanish colonizers. Nobody wants to bring that up, because then that puts you at odds with all the other people who are anti-racist. They're saying, well, you're a colonizer. It would be the equivalent of a slave owner's descendants coming down saying, well, I'm a minority too. Well, yeah, you might be, but you're the reason that we're in the situation that we're in. It's not just about the minority status. It's about minorities who suffered at the hand of rich and powerful people who capitalized on their enslavement and their exploitation. And so this is what we're looking at. This is what we're dealing with. And now Devin is telling me the Waldorf Astoria rejected him for being Latino. I mean, I'm sure there was a whole lot of reasons they rejected Castro. You know, I mean, I'm absolutely sure the fact they probably didn't want him in his hotel. Remember, he was a hot button kind of guy. A lot of people are saying they wouldn't let him in because of his color. But see, the problem with that theory is there were oftentimes other blacks from other countries who would come to New York, and they stayed in Manhattan. I mean, the Waldorf Astoria, remember, it's 1960, and you got dignitaries coming from, so you're going to tell the king of Zamunda that he can't come stay in the Waldorf Astoria. No, you're not. And so that's why when people say he got rejected because he's Latino, no, he got rejected because he's Fidel Castro. He got rejected because he's a communist leader, or at that time, he's a revolutionary leader from Cuba, which is 90 miles south of Florida. He's basically the enemy. That's what that was. Because they had black and brown people and all kind of folk. You think they wouldn't? No, that's what it was. That's not what it was. I can read that. It definitely wasn't all depending on who you were. It was just selective. So just think about it. I want you to look at history kind of look at it, you know, through the eyes of what you know and how things actually work. You got somebody coming in who is an African king or a Saudi Arabian king who's coming to New York. You're going to send him to Harlem he's worth billions of dollars. You're going to send him to Harlem as opposed to taking him at the Waldorf Astoria. No, so just when you read history, you kind of I don't really want to look at it from what is, I want to read into it to kind of understand what we're dealing with. But the other thing I want to give you a few more facts. And I read this. Here's another thing I want to talk to you guys about. And this young lady wrote a terrific article about it. I'm going to try to pull this article back up. Anti-racism. So this is written by Rena Goldtree. And here's it. Anti-Racism in Cuba examines public debates about race, racism, and blackness in Cuba between 1959 and 1961. Why did you elect to focus on the first 3 years of the revolution? What is significant about that particular moment? So we'll read a little bit of this. Benson, when I think about the years between 1959 and 1961 Cuba, one of the things that immediately comes to mind is that so much was unknown. In 1959, we did not know that Cuba and the United States would break diplomatic relations. We did not know that Fidel Castro was going to be in power for 50 years. He had no idea that Cuba was going to become a socialist country and align with the Soviet bloc. So many of the political debates and the events that laid groundwork for those major things to happen occurred in the 3-year period. So it was fundamentally a moment when the course of revolution was up for grabs. Conversations about race, integration, nationalism played such a big role in that. For me, it became really important to examine how we look at these 3 years in order to understand the revolution, how the revolution became consolidated. Second reason is it became really important for me to study the period between 1959 and 1961, as that I wanted to debunk the idea that the revolutionary racial politics, the ones that we see throughout the latter part of the 20th century, emerged because the government turned to socialism. I actually find that revolutionary racial politics have more to do with over 100 years of Cuban racial history and the histories of the people of African descent in Cuba, that they have everything to do with how socialists or communists approach race. So it's misleading to say that Castro and the other Cuban leaders don't talk about race because they're socialists or they're communists. In reality, the reasons that they made the choices that they did in terms of racial discourse are based primarily on Cuba's distinctive racial history. And we can only see that if we explore how their stance on race and racism consolidates before they ever officially become scholars and socialists in 1961. Okay, so here's what we're dealing with. All right, she's basically saying, no, this is not. It didn't really matter who the government was. We're talking about the racial politics that existed there all that time. Now, I'd love to have. Let me see, my man Robert Vasquez. Other minorities need to understand that socialism might be the solution for Latin America. The capitalism system hasn't worked in Latin America for the past 100 years. Well, we like capitalism here. I am definitely a capitalist. We're just examining Cuba, and because we want to kind of understand and see, here's what's going to happen, folks. We got an influx of minorities, as we call them, people who are non-white, coming into the United States from all over the world. I tell people all the time, Black Americans, especially African-American descendant of slaves, we are typically the first line of defense when it comes to racism that enters into the country, whether it's the Irish, the Italians, whether it's, Latinos, white Latinos, mestizos. We are typically the ones who see it when it's coming and call it out. So, but I think one of the problems that we have, and what Devin Spence Benson is pointing out, is that there's a difference between a white Latino and an Afro Latino, or Latino is more of a culture, okay? And your ethnicity, or what you identify on that cascade of colors, has a lot more to do with your social status. Very, very similar to what we have here in the United States, or what used to be. So when they come here from that structure and they're confronted with a Haitian person in South Florida, or they're confronted with an African-American person in South Florida, or whatever, especially because I use Florida because that's where largely a lot of the Cuban dissidents settle. They tend to bring with them those racial attitudes from South America. And it's not any different if you're dealing with someone who is what we consider a white Latino or Latina from Venezuela or some of these other countries in South America. And so we have to understand, we consider, hey, yeah, there are some Latinos that identify as Black or brown or mixed. And then there are some that identify as white. And so unfortunately, some of those white Latinos may have some of the same ideals and share some of the same principles as a typical European who is racially biased or prejudiced. So we have to address that. Let's not bunch them all together. That's what I want you guys to do. We have to take each person and understand their culture and understand where they're coming from. And why? Because it's important, because you want to know who you're dealing with. You don't want to, and look at it. Look at what the South Floridians have done. Oftentimes you got Florida, and the Republicans run that South. They run that. Why? Because, well, they kind of see what they see. They identify with the Europeans. I just think it's all very interesting, but I just wanted to educate you guys on this. And the fact that this young lady put this video up where she says, yeah, my people, the white Latinos of Cuba, or the white Cubans, are descended from the Spanish. They are the descendants of the oppressors. So how can they then be, once you come to Cuba, now you're what? I mean, once you come to South Florida, now you're a minority. How does that work? But you see, it hadn't worked because they still vote Republican, conservative, and they have certain ideals. And I'm sure people from South Florida can help this out tremendously. But here's the thing. We're an hour in. I'm going to open up the chat room because I want to get everybody's opinions in here. I'm just kind of laying the framework. I want to hear what people think about this. What's been your experiences? And we don't want to castigate a whole group of people. All right. But what we want to do is have a better understanding and put it in historical context. You don't want to just see, we can confuse, all those Latinos. That's like saying all those Black people in the world. What are you talking about? A Nigerian? Are you talking about somebody from Trinidad, Jamaica? Are you talking about somebody from Alabama? It's a lot of Black people in the world. When you say Latino, okay, what are you talking about? Somebody from Peru? Somebody from Colombia? Are you talking about somebody, a Tejano from Texas? Are you talking about a Chicano from from California somewhere. Like, you got to explain that. Like, that's too broad. And so you want to understand each person's culture, good, bad, or ugly. So anybody who wants to come in, let's come talk. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. In the meantime, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the #1 button. I hope you appreciate this really diverse kind of stuff we're talking about. Let me see. James Morton said Batista was a black puppet of the white power structure. What is odd that white Cubans in Havana claim to be black? Well, I mean, is it fair to say they claim to be black because it's beneficial? I mean, wouldn't you do that if you were black? I mean, if you were, that's the ideal thing. D, what's going on? Unmute yourself. How can I help you?
Hello, hey, I want to join in on the conversation.
Okay, cool. Just hang in there. I was just doing the troll check. Anybody else who wants to join in. I want to hear what you guys think. What's been your experiences? I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. I want to hear. Now, I've not had any issues. You know, I would typically, if somebody treats me in a certain way, I know how to respond, you know, and then I've always been in a position where I could punish people for any sort of transgressions against me, whatever they may be. Socially, of course, I'm not talking about anything other than that, but you know, you ostracize people, I ostracize you back, right? So that's how that works. But James Morton, come in. I've heard this about Batista. I think you're referring to the fact that Batista was I believe if I recall, he was what we would consider Afro-Latino or brown. He wasn't considered like a white Latino. And so that's why he's saying he was their puppet. Kind of the same thing they did to Barack Obama. They put Barack Obama in office, and he basically fulfilled, you know, an agenda that benefited the same people that has always benefited. You see what I mean? That's kind of what he's saying. He was basically a puppet. Anybody else that wants to join in, welcome to join in. In the meantime, D, welcome. How are you today? What are your thoughts on this conversation? What do you have to add to it? And specifically, we're talking about anti-Black racism in Latin America, and this is like my 5th time working on this subject. But pre-revolution, revolution Cuba and the Miami Exiles, what we've learned is that there was some anti-Black racism. There was a color cascade there. What are your thoughts on this conversation, sir?
This is such a brilliant conversation, and touch on Latin America, and I've never been to anywhere in Latin America, but I've had some experiences with, you know, I guess the Latino culture.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? Like, what's your heritage? Where are you from? Or where do you live? Go ahead.
My parents are from Nigeria. I'm from around the Maryland, DC, Baltimore area.
Okay, right. Are there a lot of Latinos there? Where are they from primarily?
The Latinos here are from like El Salvador.
Okay, yeah. I grew up with a lot of El Salvadorians because I grew up in LA, and we had a lot of El Salvadorians evacuated. That was at the time of the war, so many of them came to California. But go ahead, what's been and we don't want to just focus on experience because, you know, it might just be a one-off, you know, and here's the thing. People are different in the United States than they are in their home country. That's another thing we got to understand. But go ahead, D, the floor is yours.
From what I've seen, it doesn't seem like the Hispanics are that into Black people, it seems. But that doesn't it doesn't seem like it's like that for all of them. When it seems like, you know, a Black man is trying to marry one of their daughters, it's just, I mean, that's like the worst thing that could happen. You know, I mean, it's like that for other cultures and stuff, but like particularly, that's like that for pretty much a lot of cultures in America, not just Latino, but.
Is that something that you've encountered?
No, I haven't, but I've seen it a lot though. The way that many Black people talk about how many Black men talk about, I guess how Latinos,
see Black men. One of the experiences I had was when they were talking. I had one of my cousin's friends. He's Latino. They're Latino, and they were talking about how there was a difference between Black Americans and Africans. The Black Americans, the African American, the Black Americans, the African Americans are uncivilized, and the Africans here, the Africans here are civilized. I heard that and stuff, and I was just kind of.
Where'd you hear that come from? Because I've heard a lot of stuff. Where'd you hear that from?
I heard it from my cousin's friend.
Well, I mean, is your cousin's friend Nigerian or is he Black American?
No, that my cousin's friend is Latino.
Oh, well, the thing is, you're going to hear a lot of that from different people, and I mean, there are so many stereotypes. I just really start hanging out with people from Africa, and let me do a little troll check real quick. Richard Maxwell, how are you? Unmute yourself.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good, man.
Yeah, I'm not a troll. I'm not a troll.
Yeah, no problem. So D, here's what I was lied to about. Okay, just so you know, before I even knew any Africans, especially Nigerians, I was told that they were just scammers. They would send you, you got these emails coming from these Nigerian coffee shops. All they wanted to do is they were slick, they were cunning, they would take your money. Matter of fact, I met an African brother, right? And I was at Tulane in law school working on my master's degree in environmental law. And, he was cool. He was one of my first African friends. And, he and I had a great relationship. I'm Black and he's African. It was just us there. And everybody else was something else, right? Non-Black. And he said, yeah, man, most of your people come from Nigeria. I'm like, what do you mean, my people? I said, I'm from Mississippi. He said, no, when the Africans were brought, they're Nigerians, very slick, cunning people. You don't trust them. Don't do business with them. So that's the reputation that I got from another African about Nigerians before I even met one, that you were cunning, that you were slick, that you were never to be trusted. And even now that's kind of like a stereotype that's pervasive here, because many of the Africans that get arrested are like Nigerian con artists here in Houston. I mean, they go into jail all the time for fraud and stealing checks. It's like people, the word is like they come over here to rob, steal, get everything they can, and go back home.
Right. I'm talking.
And so these are some of the stereotypes that we as African Americans get. But go ahead. So it's not one way. I get it. I understand. And until you actually meet folks, you really kind of don't get a gist of it. But go ahead.
I'm talking about my cousin's friend who is Latino. What I've seen from the Latino and what he said, right? And I'm not saying this is for all of them.
When you say Latino, is he mestizo? Is he white Latino? Or is he Afro-Latino?
I'm pretty sure he was mestizo, to be honest.
Okay, so is he from El Salvador or something like that?
He's born and raised here.
But where's his family from?
El Salvador.
Okay, so he's like a Central American. He's like a first, second generation evacuee, a refugee.
I mean, I guess you could say that.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I get that. But, at the end of the day, you got to understand that there's always going to be some racial animosity between the groups of people. You see, so so I grew up in LA. I told you guys before. And I actually went to school with a lot of Latinos. I played football with them. We had Black guys on the team. We had Latino, whether it was Mexico, El Salvador, Honduras. I found it interesting that the people from El Salvador always had something negative to say about the people from Honduras. And then the Blacks just said, well, all of y'all are Mexicans. You see what I'm saying? They had also, but we would do this in the football locker room, and we would pass these, and they talked about us. Well, I ain't say nothing. I was just a young freshman, but there's this one guy named Chris and Miguel. They were like best friends, but the racial jokes that they would pass, you would hear the truth about what people think. You see what I'm saying? And it's some horrible stuff that I don't want to repeat, but this is what they talked about. And so you begin to learn what people think and what people say. Now, see, the thing is, it's not really about, in my opinion, and I think this it's not what people think, it's what they can do to you to enforce what they think. Because I'm telling you, people are entitled to their stereotypes. You can have them, you're prejudiced, but if you're working for me, just do your job. You see what I'm saying? You can feel how you want to feel, you can go whatever but if just as long as you don't have enough power to affect me. You understand? Because there's always going to be tribalism and racism, and there's always going to be I'm better than your team because of my color, where I'm from, or whether you're up on the valley or down in the valley or up in the hill. And I'm gonna have to talk about this because I think there's a misunderstanding. Racism, prejudice, fear and competition with the other is never going to go anywhere. It's part of human nature. But what else you got to say, D? And then we're gonna go to Devin Lockett.
I want to talk about Fidel Castro, and about how he wasn't let into the Waldorf Astoria. Fidel Castro, he was like descendant from mostly just Spaniards, which are like, white.
Yeah, I know, I'm familiar.
White, pale people, so. Yeah,
I'm very familiar.
I don't think it was because he was a brown, he's not a brown Latino or anything like that. This guy, again, like what you said, he was probably.
He was Fidel Castro. That's like, you want Osama bin Laden coming in? He was Osama bin Laden of his day. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
You want Osama bin Laden in the Hilton with your upper, like, okay, oh my God, Fidel Castro's that. I don't want to be here. Because think about you don't want to be in this. If you're a senator, if you're this rich guy, you don't want to be in the same hotel with this guy. Okay? Like, it's like if some people you don't want to take a picture with. Like, how many people are trying to take down, what's that guy, the pedo, the what's his name? The guy that they say killed himself in the I forget the guy's name, man. But
Epstein.
Yeah, nobody wants a picture with him anymore. Everybody's scrubbing the internet of photographs of Epstein. And so it's like, we don't want to be with him. If you let him stay in his hotel, you'll never see our business again. That's kind of how that went. So, because there was always people coming in from, it's New York. Are you kidding me? In 1960, are you telling me? Is this what you're telling me? You got people coming over with millions and billions of dollars, these sheiks and these rich people. It was more to it. It was more of a political decision. But anyway, D, thank you so much. Devin, what are your thoughts on this conversation?
No problem.
Unmute yourself, Devin.
Yo, man, you got to be the hardest working man on YouTube. I gotta respect your hustle. I gotta tell you that, man.
The thing is, Devin, I enjoy it, and I don't plan on doing this forever. And so I'm gonna do it now while I got time and energy to do it. And when I stop, hopefully one of these young men will pick it up. But I wanted to bring a certain level of class, and I wanted to bring up the discourse here in YouTube. And so that's really it. But we'll see.
It's funny, man, because I was stationed in Spain for 4 years in the Air Force, and then I lived in Miami for a few years. And in the Spaniards that I met, very loving, very salt of the earth people. Most of them took pride in the fact that they had Moorish background, and that the figure of the Spanish woman is different from that of most other European women, and you can see the African influence, and that's all I gotta say, right? They're twerkable, they're twerkable, right? But when you get to the Miami Cuban, and you're right, those are the exiles, those are the colonialists, those are the white people of Cuba. Most of them, if you meet a person in Miami, they'll say, I'm Cuban, but my family comes from Spain. It is immediately followed with that qualifier, so that they're trying to distance themselves from any confusion that they might be Afro-Latino, that they might have some black blood. And I'm thinking, well, damn, I know true Spaniards really intimately. And if you were a Spaniard, you would actually not be running away from your Africanness, right? Because the Spaniards that I know don't necessarily run away from it. Now,
I watched a movie about Pele, and any of you guys who watch who are familiar with football, and I'm not talking about American football, I'm talking about soccer, and I'm talking about Pele, who was one of the greatest soccer players that has ever lived on the planet. He was from Brazil, dark-skinned black man. And he learned how to play football or soccer basically in the streets, you see? And so his style of soccer was different than the formalized soccer that they played in Spain. So here's the situation. Not Spain, Portugal, right? So here's in Europe. So the Portuguese, of course, we know colonized Brazil. They took a lot of people from the Congo and they colonized Brazil. And so those Brazilian Portuguese, they still wanted to be European. They have a term, and so any of you Spanish speakers who are here who can help me, is called blanqueamiento, okay? And what that means is a social, political, economic practice used in many post-colonial countries in the Americas and Oceania to improve the race towards supposed ideal whiteness. The objective then is to get back to whiteness, to get back to Europe. And so they try their very best to prove that we're European, our ancestors are, but the thing is, and if you look at the movie, the Europeans still rejected the Brazilians. Like, no, you're a Brazilian. This is how they treated them. Like, no, you're still less than because you're Brazilian. You're from over there. You're mixed. You're less than under social status. And so I say all that to say, they'll say, yeah, I'm from Spain, or they'll say, yeah, my people are from Europe, but the Europeans still look at them basically like they look at Americans, whites, like they look at American whites. But go ahead, Devin.
No, you're absolutely right. And that phenomenon exists. I thought it was just Iberian Peninsula because my daughter's mother is from Spain, and I mean from Portugal. My son's mother is from Spain, and you know when they say, oh well, the Brazilians, they're Portuguese, you know, and I'm thinking, Brazil, Portugal. Why are you saying that as though, you know, you're doing them a favor by granting them status? You're gracing them with Portuguese status. You know, it's as though British people said, "Oh, you Americans, you're Brits." We're like, "Thanks, but we don't want to be Brits. We're Americans." You know what I mean?
Right,
Why do you even have that? You know, like you're gracing them with your acceptance. When really, you know, you were their colonizers. You know what I mean? I didn't know that was a term. I knew that everybody had a certain type of lightening the line. You know what I mean?
And then, see, the thing is, man, like you and I've been in New Orleans. I was in Louisiana from 92 to 2005. Okay. So, and anybody who's been in New Orleans and then traveled the Caribbean, you know, it's the northernmost Caribbean country, as far as I'm concerned, right? And so we understand about you from the 7th Ward, right? You know, you a hard head. See, bro, you out there in that 7th Ward, huh? But but what I'm saying is we get it. We understand the color cascade. The problem is the Latinos, they are like 90 to 100 years back where we were. You see, they're still doing the paper bag test, basically. They're 100 years behind us. They haven't had the Marcus Garveys and the Elijah Muhammads to come in and say, I'm black and I'm proud and embrace your heritage. So they're still socially behind us as far as the color cascade. And so when I deal with them, it's like, I understand where you're coming from, but you do realize the people that you're trying to be like actually despise you, and they don't want you around them and interbreeding with them because you'll bring down the race. And so this is a concept here. So, and it says, and you can get this in Wikipedia, it's really easy. Blanqueamiento or whitening is a social, political, or economic practice used in many post-colonial countries in the Americas and Oceania to improve the race. This is what they call it. And basically it towards a supposed ideal whiteness. The terms blanqueamiento is rooted in Latin America and is used more or less synonymously with racial whitening. However, the blanqueamiento can be considered in both symbolic and biological sense. Symbolically, Blanqueamiento represents an ideology that emerged from the legacies of European colonialism described by Annabelle, I can't say that name, Theory of Colonial Power, which caters to white dominance, to social hierarchies. Biological Blanqueamiento is a process of whitening by marrying lighter-skinned individuals to produce lighter-skinned offspring. So what the gentleman D was saying, if a black man, and see, they don't see any, and I hate to break this to you, buddy, but D, I know you're a Nigerian, but they don't see a difference between a black American and a black Nigerian. In fact, I'm going to be honest with you, Devin and I would do better than you would. You see what I'm saying? Because they're going to say, well, you know, at least they're light. At least you see what I'm saying? So they don't distinguish between that or the other. They look at your color, you're Nigerian. They don't care whether you're from Africa or Haiti or whatever, you're still black. And it goes against the objective of the race. And that is what? To lighten the race, lighter skinned offspring. So that's just something to consider. What are your thoughts on it? I'm going to go to Richard. Richard, you had a lot to say here in the question area, but what are your thoughts, man? Go ahead and go ahead and talk.
Yeah, my question was pretty much, you know, why did like the African American community essentially allow the Cubans to come in and essentially oppress them? I know there were two waves of Cubans in Miami. You had the Pedro Pan era and you had the Mario Boatlift.
Right.
But you know, living in Miami, I see it firsthand at the political level, and especially when it comes to people in power. So,
right.
You know, we were here first essentially, and you know, to allow this, you know, is inexcusable. I just kind of wanted to know why.
Let me help you out. I'm going to tell you, because you know how I tell people all the time, this world belongs to whoever's strong enough to hold it and to take it and hold on to it.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah,
you're expecting people to do what's in your best interest, and that's not how groupthink works. So you're expecting them to do what's fair. We were here first. Well, yeah, but we were here and we took it from you. And you're not doing anything about it. Now, if you want to examine why they took it from us, well, let's look at it. The Mariana boat lift, that happened in 1979. And so you got an influx of Cubans coming in. They have, what did that do? That infused their culture with a fresh group, okay? A fresh group of people who are fresh in the culture, who they got the same language, the same heritage, the same food. They tend to like the same things. Many of them are related. They share the same customs. And on top of that, you got a patriarchal society, okay? You got basically a bunch of men in control. And that versus a matriarchal society, i.e. run by Black American women. It's the same thing that happened in Africa. At the point we became so egalitarian, right? We became so egalitarian that we just, women, you know what women do. They want foreign men. They want to embrace. They want to bring that in. Most of these societies that come in and take over Black communities are patriarchal, whether they be Arab, Latino, or a subset of Latino, Cuban, whatever. Bottom line, until men begin to run things and set borders and boundaries, as long as these lovely ladies are in charge, you're always going to get pushed out of your communities. You see, because men hold the line. Men defend, men protect. Women just open up and let it in. And so that's a general answer. We could go deeper. But that's the same thing that happened in Africa. What are your thoughts? Why do you think it happened? That's my opinion, and it's just an opinion. Tell me wrong. Tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, I never examined it in that aspect, you know. But it's just crazy to me, you know. It's just crazy to me.
Well, I mean, the answer is for you to become a patriarchal male. And you to control your community. You start with your household. Okay, well, hell, you start with yourself. Then you go on to your household. Then you go to your neighborhood. Then you go to community. And then you go to your city, town, state. And it's easy to do. You just begin to control through economic means, business means. You make friends, or you the truth is, and I may have to do this, and I've kind of hinted at it, but I kind of hinted at some things before about being the man about town. Really, I should give a lesson on how you lock down your neighborhood. How do you lock down your town? What you do is you begin to pay people. And I hate to say it like that, but you got to pay people. You got to people who are running for judge, people who are running for mayor. You got to take care of people who are running for office, all legal contributions. You hear about it all the time. We got a PAC. We raise $1 million for the president. Well, hell, it only takes $30,000 to elect a district court judge here in the state of Texas. And that's the criminal court. And,
yeah, but it's both parties. It's both parties, both Democrat and Republicans.
No, man, listen to me now. It doesn't matter what party they are. I don't care what party you are. You can be with the alien party. If you're going to be a judge in this town, I want to get to know you and put some money in your pocket while you're coming up. Because guess what? I want you to know who I am. Now imagine if I have 15 to 20 other black men like myself who was willing to put out $20,000 or $30,000 every time there's an election cycle. Now I don't find any other people like me. So you gotta, if you want to run things, you gotta pay for it. You know that old saying, "It pay the cost to be the boss."
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but when it comes to like individual donations, I was looking it up. They often cap you at like 500. Those large donations,
500. But if you donate through a organization, there was a case that came out. I forget the George Bush. I forget the name of the case, but there's no caps now. If you donate to it, you can do a PAC. Like there's a PAC. It violates your freedom of speech not to be able to do. They got some loophole. Look, let me tell you something about white folks. They'll make rules, figure out a way to break their own rules, and by the time you catch up, they've changed the rules again. You got to stay on top of this. It's not $500. I think individual donations is $25. Now, how do you get around that, Richard Maxwell?
Yeah, I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
I don't know. I want you to think about it. How do you get around that? If I'm an individual and I can only donate $2,500 to a judge, and he needs $3,000 or he needs $30,000, how do I do that?
I would have to have multiple people donate to him.
Okay, who are these people, Richard?
Members of the Black community, my friends. I don't give a
damn who it is. I got some guys that are members of, I'm working on some class action cases with them, and I'll be damned when this case settles if I'm not going to hit them up and say, hey, you know, all those judges I've been talking to and making sure stuff is happening right, I need each one of y'all to give me $2,500 out of this $250 million. It's a small drop in the bucket. You see what I'm saying? Or I could say, Richard, look, man, you know, I know you just, you got that engineering firm out the way. Why don't you, let's make friends before you need them. Now, if you're the type of person that'll say, well, man, I don't know, I need to think about it, I'm not going to go back to you anymore. Because if you got to think about $2,500, we don't need to be friends. You see what I'm saying? If I got to bother you, if I got to call you more than once to give me $2,500 to write a check to this judge, you and I are not going to ever be friends again because you don't have the forethought. Now, see, when you come together as a group of people, when you have that cohesive unit, same race, well, whatever, same culture, same religion, same, your daughter and her daughter are best friends. Y'all go to the same school. You live in, you know, you can come together. You know what we're going to do? What we're going to do is we're going to come together. We're going to buy this place. We're going to buy this place. Then we're going to go down to the meeting. We're going to figure out who is on the council. We're going to get rid of this one. We're going to get rid of that one. All the black people are slowly being eliminated. So next thing you notice happening is these businesses are disappearing and the licenses are going to people that look like the people who just moved in. You see how that works?
Okay.
Yeah. You see, a lot of black people want things to happen, but you're not willing to pay for it. You understand?
Yeah. I saw
black power stuff. I don't need black power. I'm going to pay you to do what I want you to do when I need you to do it. I don't believe in that. I'm going to give you money. Now, do you want some more money in 4 more years? Well, you're going to do what I say do. And I'm not going to ask a lot, and I'm not going to ask again. But if you don't do what I say do, be certain that I'm going to make sure that your opponent has a lot more money than you have when he's running against you or she's running against you in 4 years. You see how power works?
Okay.
Now, do you understand how you get power? What did I do? How did I transfer the power? How did I get the power?
You essentially bought it.
How did I get the money to buy the power, brother?
By mobilizing our interest.
No, brother, I earned the money. There's a book called The Richest Man in Babylon. Have you heard of that book?
No, I never heard of it. No.
You should read it. It took me one day to read it. I was 15 years old. Changed my life.
Okay.
It's called The Richest Man in Babylon. It's about 100 pages. It comes from the Dead Sea Scrolls. The first thing you do is master your craft. If you're a jewel maker, you're a jewel maker. If you're a pig farmer, you're a pig farmer. But you become really good at that. What happens when you master your craft, Richard?
You can kind of dictate the terms of it.
No, you make money, Richard, if you master your craft.
Okay.
You the best in town. You see? The reason I can be busy here doing all this all day with you guys is because I've mastered my craft and I've trained other lawyers, 3 of them, to do my work for me. And I only chime in when it's time to either seal the deal or negotiate some sort of fee, or they need some advice on something. Other than that, they pretty much leave me alone. You know, I communicate via text messages. I got staff. I got somebody right now answering my phone if something happened. It took me 21 years to master my craft, and it was hard to get here. But the bottom line is that gives me the freedom. It gives me the money, and it gives me the freedom to do what? Plant seeds and make friends before I need them. So the first thing you got to do is you got to master your craft. If you're a mediocre, I just want to get by, you'll never be able to lock down the city. You'll never be able to be the one that says, hey, let's do this, let's do that. You see, if I had another 20 guys like myself, even just around, you know, it would be a different situation, you know, but there's not, because a lot of black people, we don't share, I don't know where you're from, but we probably don't share the same religious views. Yeah, we speak the same language, but we don't identify with each other as black men. Yeah, I'm black, you black, but all we got is holding us together is racial, some amorphous racial color. What if I'm light skinned and you dark skinned? You see what I'm saying? What if my people are from, I don't know, Mississippi and yours are from Alabama? You see what I mean? Like it's hard to come together. See, they got race. They got, not only do they have race, they got religion. They got the way they celebrate holidays. They got all of that. You see, so it's easy for them. They got culture. But any other questions? I'm gonna go back to Devin.
Yeah, when it comes to donating the money, I just wanted to close on this. Essentially, you'd have to do that before he gets in office, because going to him with money.
No,
because a guy in my area got arrested for that. That's why I'm saying that.
You do it all the time. I got incumbents. I got new people. I will actually wait until after they win their primary, because I don't want to give somebody some money and you can't beat the other people that's on your same side. You see what I mean? That's just a waste of money. You see what I mean? You wait till they get to a certain point after they beat their primary. Okay, it's only 2 people in the race. Either you're going to win or they're going to win. So I'm hedging my bets. But the bottom line is, man, you pay everybody. You make sure you have 20 or 30,000. I don't know why Bill Cosby went to jail. That makes no sense. You worth $400 million. You could have been in charge of all the local politics. There should be a fund set up with $2 or $3 million to make sure each and every candidate for each and every party that looks like they're going to win gets a certain amount of money from Bill Cosby's political fund. And he would have never gone to prison. You understand how that works?
Okay, yeah.
All these black power folks, they're telling you to go out in the street and bash your head into the, you know, stand up, don't shoot. No, what you want to be able to do is make a phone call and say, hey, Mr. Mayor, how you doing? Yeah, this is Dennis Sperling. Yeah, you know what? You guys got this chief up here. You might want to really think, oh, this is Mr. Sperling. He's been funding me since I first ran for city council 20 years ago. I'm going to listen to him. He's probably given me $50,000 or $60,000 over the past 20 years. He's one of the reasons why I'm here. Matter of fact, he's helped bundle $150,000 for me. So the mayor is going to listen to you, Richard. You understand how power works?
Yeah, I do.
And then you say, I don't really, I'm not really feeling this police chief. Oh, well, who would you suggest? Well, you know what? You should blah, blah. And the next thing you know, they got the police chief is saying I'm resigning and I'm going to take a job down in Miami as a new police chief of Miami. That's how that works. Okay. See, a lot of people think it's all,
oh, we hook up, what do they say? They call you the boule and all that hookup. That don't go nowhere. What? Because we friends, because we in the same fraternity. Nobody gives a damn about that. How are you helping me sustain my life? Are you putting money? Because once I become a politician, I damn sure don't want to go back to being a lawyer. Once I become the sheriff, I want to go up, not down in politics. You mean I got to actually get back out there and work? Are you kidding me? The reason most judges stay on the bench is because practicing law is hard. You literally have it would be a step down for me to go from what I'm doing now to go practice to being a judge. I would make far less money, but it would be a lot easier. But then if I ever stop doing it, I got to come set up what I got going on again. You see what I'm saying? So they want to stay in that position. So what do? You make sure you give them what they want, and if you ever need them, they give you what you want. Not saying that anybody's biased or anything, but I'm saying if it's a equal, what is it called? You can go either way or the other. They might lean towards you. You see how that works, Richard?
Yeah.
It ain't no mystery in this. Ain't no hookups no more. People want to know how much money. How are you helping me with my life? And it's from the president of the United States all the way down to some lowly, constable somewhere. How are you helping them with their life? Now, of course, if you are a person, a pariah, like an Epstein, nobody wants to deal with you. If you become a social outcast, if you get labeled some sort of horrible person, they might give you your money back. You see what I mean? But as long as you remain quiet, you move behind the scenes, man, you pretty much, that's how it works, brother. Okay, but let me you got any more questions? I want to get back to Devin.
Yeah, that was it. I thank you for your time.
Yeah, man, no problem, man. But don't complain about it. Change it. If you don't like what's going on in Miami, you gotta spend some money. They put money to get in there. They got the numbers, but it's about the money. You understand what I'm saying? There's plenty of small populations of ethnic minorities that run their town, and there's nothing you can do about it. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Devin, man. I apologize for making you wait so long.
Man, you're making some good points, man. My Uncle Lloyd, man, God rest his soul, he passed away at 94 last year, right? Now, when I was in San Antonio, when I first went into the Air Force, I had time to spend time close with him. My uncle owned properties all over San Antonio. He owned properties in East Side San Antonio, which is the hood, right? And he owned, I think it was 6 or 7 adjacent lots. I used to go help him cut the grass. Now, my uncle used to support brothers that were in law school.
Right.
These are brothers that were on their way to getting their law degree. He would kick them down, man. He would kick them down and help make their life more comfortable. My uncle ended up selling those adjacent lots to the city to build a police substation. He got way more than he ever could have got. He was telling me at the time before he got the city to buy it, he was like, look, man, I can't afford to build on it because what I can charge in East Side San Antonio for rent is not going to justify the money it's going to cost me to build it.
Right.
To build the properties. And because he was supporting young brothers from the law school level, all the way through their political career. I'm not going to mention any names, but because he did that made it easier for him to grease the wheels to do. And he was just a brother standing on his own 2 feet in San Antonio, man.
Now imagine if it was 20 of them.
I know.
But see, here's the thing, man. Like I tell you guys, there's nothing magic about it. It's about power. It's about how can you help me? It's like it's not really that. It's not complicated. Broke people. Okay, you go out there and vote. You can stand outside and protest and hold up a sign. But if you got money, $1, $10, $100, $1,000 goes a whole lot further. You banging on somebody's, car hood, saying don't stop, don't shoot. Just get people fired. Start affecting the decision makers. It's not that you don't have to broadcast it. You guys wouldn't know anything that I do. Like I even tell the people that I donate money to, don't even mention my name. Because I don't want a bunch of people begging me for anything. If I want to give it to you, I will. I know what I'm doing. I got a whole But anyway, that's a long story. But the bottom line is, man, let's get back to anti-Black racism in Latin America, pre-revolutionary Cuba, and the Miami Exiles. See, the thing is, a lot of Black folks, they act shocked when these white Latinos treat them like, you know, prejudice. Like this brother from Nigeria, he said, yeah, they say Black Americans. No, it's all Black people. It's because of your skin color, brother. They know what Africans look like. You see what I mean? It's your dark. They want to lighten the race, not darken the race. And so that's why you're getting those anti-Black attitudes when you're dating one of the white Latina young ladies. That's what's going on.
You know, the sad thing, brother, is that it's eugenics. They're practicing eugenics, and they're trying to reach something that they'll never reach, because Europeans will never accept them as Europeans, no matter how light among their own people they intermarry.
Well, yeah, I mean, but you know, I get it. I mean, think about it. Europeans don't even accept other Europeans.
Right.
You know, look at how the British treat the Irish. Look at how the British treat the Italians. Like, okay, if that's what you want, go ahead and go for it. But again, like I said, you can't control what other people think about you. What you want to be able to control is what they can do to impose their will upon you. See, racism is a system where one group imposes their will on another group. Prejudice is just, I don't like you, I prejudge you to be, I'm beholden to my stereotypes about you. Bigotry is I think I'm better than you. You guys are not you, but they're angry about bigotry. You want them to, I want you to like me. I don't really care if you like me. I just want you to do what I say do. You see what I'm saying? See, that's the difference. If I can get more Black men to feel like that, like I would prefer you hate me as long as you do what I say do. You see, and there's nothing you can do about hating me. You hate me all you want, but you still have to do what I say do. You see what I'm saying? That's the attitude that most people who, I mean, if you really look at it, that's how people feel empowered. Just do what I say do and do it fast. You see the difference in the attitude, like these, well, they don't like us. And they just, you understand, talk to them, man. Maybe you can speak to them in the language they can understand. I don't think they get wrong.
You're absolutely right. And I think another factor that the brother in Miami might be dealing with is that the Black community in Miami is primarily a Caribbean community, Bahamian and from other parts of the Caribbean. They don't have the same eye of the tiger. They don't have the history of Malcolm X and the Panthers. They don't have the same fire. No other Black people in the diaspora have the same fighting spirit and fire that we as Black Americans have. So unfortunately, I used to notice that same.
And see, the thing is, and I don't want to cut you off, but I want you to get this because I've dissected that too. Is it that they don't have the same fighting spirit, or they don't see a reason to fight? See, if you, it's one thing to say I'm not willing. I know Haitians, they got a history of fighting because they got the whole Haitian Revolution. But the question is, if you identify more as an immigrant than you do as an African or a Black person, then that means you're going to identify more with the immigrant status of the white Cubans than you would the Black status of your Black American brothers and sisters. You might not see the unity there. What's the point of unifying? These are immigrants. I'm an immigrant. Yeah, we're a different color, but we have more in common as immigrants, especially culture-wise. You see, because we got some Haitian brothers that come through. They're patriarchal. Their fathers rule. What else? You know, they eat very similar food, so they have a lot more in common. Yeah, they have a different skin tone, but you see what I'm saying? They don't see any reason to battle. They ain't tripping. It's basically what I'm saying.
Yeah, and in most instances they do. I mean, you might hear the occasional, salty comment, but for the most part, the darkest Cubans, what I've seen in Miami, they primarily identify themselves as Cuban. Right. And they're accepted within the community like that, and that goes the same for Puerto Ricans and other countries. Once they come here and once they belong to in a society that they dominate, like in Miami, in the case of the Cubans.
Yeah, and here's another thing I want Black American men to understand: you're not supposed to be on that level fighting with them for jobs in little neighborhoods like that. Why? Because we've been in this country we got 160 universities for Black people. We got 5 law schools. I think we got 3 medical schools. You're supposed to have taken advantage of that. I've told guys this, and I know I've been catching a lot of flack lately because I'm saying Black Americans, we need to, as men, we have 57% of Black Americans in the middle class, Black American men in the middle class. All together between the middle class, the middle class, upper middle class, rich, and working class Black folks, there's 82% of us. There's only 18% poor Blacks in the United States. What does that mean? That means that, or 18.8%. What does that mean? That vast majority of that group is mostly women and children. So there's probably only a small percentage. Let's say 8.8% of those women and children and poor Black guys. Most of those are going to be kids and the women that had them. So that means you're looking at a small, let's say half of them. That's about 4%. Yeah, you're giving it 2. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. It's only 4% Black American men who are poor. And why, really they're locked out of upward mobility because they've had felonies, because they basically have locked themselves out. And so they're just waiting around. They can't go anywhere. They can't travel anywhere. Some of them have like criminal records, like I said. Some of them have child support liens. They're suffering from the mistakes they made as young men. And so they're locked out. You're not supposed to be there. The rest of us, the vast majority of us, are in the middle class. You shouldn't be around here fighting with some immigrant for a job. You should have elevated yourself to that point. And then you would understand. But am I making sense here, man?
No, you're absolutely right, man. You're absolutely right. You know, what really ticks me off, when I grew up in New Orleans, we used to see all of the stores in the French Quarter were owned by white people. Mm-hmm. And we always assumed that all of the tourist industry, all of that tourism money was for the white man, so to speak. Now right. I'm grown, I go home to New Orleans and everybody's Vietnamese owning all of the tourist stores.
Yeah.
Right in front of our face, right? And that's us. I mean, I left New Orleans, but yo, that's my people. That's my brothers that let that happen right here in our face.
Well, go ahead, man. You tell the story. Go ahead.
And yes, you know, we want to criticize our highly educated, lovely ladies, our sisters, mm-hmm. but how do they get to be the highest educated group in the United States, and why are we not? Because honestly, you know, like I said, for me to go to Cal State, it was nothing. In fact, I even get money back from my Pell Grant. I'm just keeping it real, you know. Wow. Every semester, about $140 or whatever, but it works. But it works and it fits and it covers it. So and it was the same way at the junior college level. So we got to step our game up, man. I mean, as brothers, we have to put ourselves in a position so that we're equipped to start making power moves. Because I'm here in Southern California, man. I need teammates, man. I need a network that I can work with.
I want to get FYF Life in here. FYF, come on in. I want to hear what you got to talk about. Come on in. You said that the middle class is bogus and make-believe for Black America. You're doing the service line. I always love to have people who have dissenting opinions, especially when they say, you know, my information is wrong. FYF Life, I want you to come in, join the conversation. I'd like to share some information with you. Of course, we are always very respectful here on this page, and I look forward to hearing from you. Come on in. So let's get FYF Life in here. He says this. He says the middle class is bogus and make believe for Black America. You're doing a disservice line to people. Let me see what else we got here. He says, KT, how are you doing today?
I'm well. How about yourself?
All right, you're not FYF Life, are you?
No.
Okay, well, what are your thoughts on this conversation? Well, let me finish with middle class is anything over what, $23K for single childless adults. Okay, so FYF Life, I need you to come in here so we can talk. You can't afford to rent a room with that. FYF Life, I want you to come in. FYF Life, come on in. Let's have this conversation. The link is in the chat room. KT, what would you like to add to this discussion?
Well, I just like to thank you for bringing light to this issue. In my travels, particularly here in America throughout my education, there They look down upon us.
Who is they?
So when I say they, I mean people from other countries.
Which people?
Well, as you say, they Africans, Cubans,
Right.
Latinos, these people from other countries. Maybe it's because of the media.
Okay.
But
do you look down on people from other countries?
Absolutely not. I welcome them. I love to learn about other cultures.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I look down on people from other countries.
That's surprising to hear from you, Dennis.
Oh yeah, but I'm honest. You know, I grew up in Black American culture.
I did too. I grew up not too far from you on 68th and Normandy.
Yeah, so I remember the names that we used to call Hispanic people, especially those El Salvadorian immigrants and folks like that, when they would come to LA. I remember the ESL. So I'm not going to say that I myself don't have prejudices and bigotry. I'm honest. I see color. See, white folks like to lie and say, "Oh, I don't see any color." You know you do. You see what I'm saying? You know. Okay, FIF life. It says I'm coming. I'm at the gym walking to my car. Okay, FYF, come on in. But go ahead, KT. I want you to finish.
The Bible tells us to love thy neighbor, to love thy stranger, if you want to go back to the Old Testament.
Yeah, but the Bible also allowed the Old Testament, you know, sent the Israelites to retake the promised land and annihilate everybody that was there. So how do you reconcile those two lessons?
But that concept, it's not only found in the Old Testament, Buddhism, whatever.
You brought up the Bible.
Okay, I'm gonna finish that. It's one of the most important concepts in the Bible, is to love those people that you consider strange, that you consider different, that you consider from the tribe across the street. You love those people.
I didn't read that
in the Bible. Tribalism.
I didn't read that in the Bible. I read that the Israelites
love thy stranger.
The promised land was retaken by blood and steel and bone.
The Bible doesn't say love the stranger.
No, I'm saying the promised land was taken by God's chosen people.
That's a question. Does the Bible say love the stranger?
It does, but what context are you reading that in, brother? And see, I'm reading. Here's the thing: that same Bible that you say says love your neighbor,
right,
gave Europeans the same empowerment to come colonize the entire world. Why isn't that they didn't see what you saw?
That was open for interpretation, and as you know, people use the Bible for different purposes.
But they took it and conquered the world with it. Why was their perspective on the Bible a religion that told them to go out and conquer? Your interpretation of the Bible tells you to love your enemy and love your neighbor. And
not love your enemy, love the stranger. Those are two different things. And those people were going to conquer the world with or without the Bible. They needed to pacify the people that they conquered, so they introduced the Bible. Napoleon was an atheist, but the first thing he would do was introduce the Pope and the Catholic Church to any land he conquered.
Okay, but you still haven't. Okay, but hold on 1 minute, FYF life. But what I'm saying is, why is it that they were able to interpret the Bible as saying, "Hey, this wants us to go out and conquer," and you're saying basically you're saying turn the other cheek? Or
I'm not saying turn the other cheek. I'm saying love people who you consider strange.
Okay,
do not be fearful of people.
Everybody who you can. Okay, so now
it's a day-to-day struggle. I'm sorry.
Okay. So you love everybody who's strange.
I try to. I do not fear people who seem strange to me. It's an important concept to realize that if someone seems strange to you, if someone seems out of the ordinary, do not fear that person. Do not hate them. Try to understand and try to love them. It's one of the oldest messages.
No, I don't do that.
Okay,
that's not my interpretation of the Bible.
It says it. What do you think?
Well, you're saying it. You're saying it.
What does that mean? Love the stranger. What do you think? What is your interpretation of that?
I'm going to have to look at. You're going to have to give me chapter and verse, and then I'm going to research what that says, because oftentimes people will misquote the Bible. You can read. Okay, brother, you're going to have to let me finish talking.
I'm sorry.
Okay? People have different interpretations of the Bible, and I'm saying that I've seen what Europeans have done with the cross and the Bible, and they've conquered the world with it. But you, as a Black American man, are saying, no, the Bible says to what? Love strangers. And I'm saying, I don't see it like that. And we have a different interpretation of what.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to send you that exact verse, and I'd like to get your interpretation on it.
Okay.
I'll even pay for it. I respect your time.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Say again, sir.
I'll pay for it. I respect your time. I'll sponsor a show on you explaining what love thy neighbor means.
Okay, well, we can do that. We can do that, and then you can leave it in the private chat there, and then we'll look it up and we'll talk about it.
Okay.
But I'll be back to you in 1 minute. I'm going to go to FYF Life, and then we'll go back to Devin. We'll come back to you.
All right. Thank you for your time, Uncle D. I really respect you, and I appreciate what you're doing, brother.
No problem. And see, here's the thing I want people to understand. We are objecting about an interpretation of the Bible. This is religion. Who talks about this stuff without getting in the fight? Right. He and I have had a dignified, respectful disagreement. I didn't call him names. He didn't call me names. We just disagree about this particular interpretation. And see, this is how black men are supposed to interact. I appreciate you, KT. And if you guys appreciate what we're doing here, make sure you contribute to the Super Chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. But in the meantime, FYF Life, welcome, sir. How are you today? You made an interesting statement earlier. Would you like me to highlight it for you there? Go ahead.
Yeah, what's going on with you, homie? It's it's Fifth Life, man. Fifth Life. Fuck your feeling like that, man. Pardon the language. But so what I'm saying is it's like I don't know if you're familiar with the whole ADOS movement and like Tone Talks and Yvette Carnell and all that, you know what I'm saying? But he did a black wealth gap in 60 seconds where he broke it down, but then it's like going from there, if you expound on it and look at it, we can't afford to live. If you go off of what poverty is and what middle class is and what they consider in the middle class on the high end, and then what they consider wealthy, it's like middle class can go up to a couple $1 million income in certain places. Like in San Francisco, you could be making like $2 million and be considered middle class. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't add up. Like I'm here in Atlanta, I'm from Alabama. Where I'm from Anniston, Alabama. It's one of the poorest cities in the country. We had Flint before Flint was Flint. If you familiar with what's his name, the lawyer, the attorney that got O.J. Simpson off, man, I forget his name, but Johnny Cochran. If you're familiar with Johnny Cochran took on the case against Monsanto where I'm from and got a settlement, and then he died in the process of getting a bigger settlement. But over there, middle class over there.
In Alabama, or was that in Atlanta?
That was in Anniston, Alabama.
He lost that case.
No, he got him a settlement. He died in the process.
As I recall, Johnny Cochran lost that case. I'd have to take a look at it because he went down there and it was like. But go ahead, brother. Back to what you were saying. I apologize. Go ahead.
No, it's all good. It's all good, my G. But so you look at that, and over there, 18,000. That's 18 G's a year, middle class out there because the rent ain't under $300. You know what I'm talking about? But you lean on the wall the wrong way, you're gonna fall through the wall. So I'm here in Atlanta through this COVID situation. Where I live at right now, my rent is locked in. I'm paying 2 G's. I'm paying 2 G's a month now for a 1-bedroom where I'm at now. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it was $1,600 before COVID, and in 2018, 2019, when I moved into the spot, it was $1,350. You know what I'm saying? So people can't afford to live. If you middle class out here, you can't afford 24 G's for a 1-bedroom rent. If you middle class out here, you
go ahead.
Saying something?
No,
you know
no.
What I'm saying? So you know what I'm saying? I talk to the little homies all the time. I talk to to the YGs all the time. I'm just like, bro, you got to stack your paper, man, because that middle class living, you can't be out here looking at women. You can't be out here trying to entertain nothing at $40,000 a year. Because that's middle class. Middle class is 23,000 to like 30-some thousand.
How much I'm just so we can kind of see if we're on the same page. How much does the average black man in America make?
Bro, I don't know about the average black man in America, but I know about the average black man in Atlanta.
Okay,
the average black man in Atlanta is making about $40,000 a year.
Okay, so the average black man in America makes $42,000 a year. How much does the average white man in America make?
Well, I heard like 5,000 more.
51,000 more or less.
Oh, okay. So about less than 10 racks more.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So if that's the case,
where'd you get the $20,000? Where'd you get the $23,000 number from?
if you look at the national statistics for what they consider as middle class, I read recently it was like $23,000 get you into the lower middle class.
Okay. So what gets
You know
you
what I'm
into the upper middle class?
Upper middle class, I think it's like 80 on up for a single person, something like that. 70. So for instance, with the stimulus check, I couldn't get the stimulus check because I made on one of my jobs I made just under the requirement, and then with my selling life insurance, it put me well over to where I couldn't get it as a single man with no children. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like what I can't
Hold on 1 and 5 life. Truth teller, I'm doing a troll check. Are you there? Truth teller, unmute yourself. Truth teller, unmute yourself.
Sorry, I stepped away from the phone. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
My dog going off in the back.
Yeah, it's cool. I just wanted to make sure we did a troll check. Five, please go ahead and finish, sir.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, for me, I can afford with these houses being, you know what I'm saying, like I'm from Anniston, but I grew up in Clayton County, south side of Atlanta, right? So for instance, a house that I was leasing to own a home 5 or 6 years ago, and that house was
how old are you?
Like $40,000. You know what I'm saying?
How old are you?
I'm 36. I'm 36.
So you're still young. Go ahead, brother.
You know what I'm saying? I was leasing to own a home in my 20s when I was engaged and all that.
What's your educational background, if you don't mind?
I ain't got no education, homie.
So, well, okay, I'm just trying to figure out what your earning capacity potential would be.
I've been out here in these streets since I was in the 10th grade, bro. I ain't got no education.
So you have a trade or anything like that? Anything? No education?
Yeah, I'm licensed to sell life insurance. I'm licensed to sell annuities. I'm licensed to sell to prepare I'm licensed to prepare certain packages and stuff like that for my insurance company that I deal with. I'm trying to start getting my series, work on my series 63 and all that. You know what I'm saying? But I ain't got no education. I ain't got no formal degrees. I ain't got no high school degree.
That's fine. Is that what you're currently doing to support yourself?
Yeah, I got a transportation company as well.
So you're not in the streets. When you say you're in the streets, that implies that you're doing something illegal or something like that. You have a job. You got a career. You got potential to make money, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm 1099 around the board, but what I'm saying is I came out the streets. You know what I'm saying? I did that for 10 years.
Most likely everybody here came out the streets. We're all black men. Most of us came out the streets, brother.
No, but I'm a Pookie. You know what I'm saying? Y'all call us Pookies and Ray Rays and talk about we can't speak because we ain't got no education.
I used to be a Pookie and a Ray Ray too.
Yeah, I mean, I just find it disingenuous. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, but see, the problem
you
is
tell these people about the middle class and telling these all these, but you don't break the numbers down to these people, man. You got to break the numbers down to these people.
I just did. Here's one for you right here. I want you to take a look at this. Okay, this is from 2018. Okay, most black males reach middle class or higher. Here's what drives their success: 6 in 10 black men reach the middle class or higher by middle age, a nearly 20% increase from 1960. And a share living in poverty has dropped from 41% to 18%. So the poverty rate is 18%. And most of those are going to be underage black men.
But so what is middle class is what I'm saying, though. What is the middle class? I hate to interrupt you, but what is the middle class? If you can roll over, take a shit, make middle class money, what is the middle class?
Okay, well, you're saying, I'm telling you that $42,000 a year is what the average black man makes.
That ain't shit. What can $42,000 a year do? You can't do nothing with $42,000.
We try not to use profanity here.
Okay, my bad. I apologize. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. My bad.
It's okay. You're passionate about what you're talking about. But what I'm saying is you're still relatively young. You haven't even reached your top earning capacity yet. Your top earning years are from 36 to 55, and for some people, 60. So you're 35 to 55 or 35 to 60. You just got to the point where you're going to start making money if you have set up yourself to do that. You haven't got there yet. Five
That's
Life?
fine, man. I'm me though. You know what I'm saying? So, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. What? Yeah, but you haven't
Hello?
got there yet. Yeah, I can hear you, sir.
Yeah, no.
But
What I'm saying is this though. That's like big up in the middle class. It don't make no sense, man. Because if you out here, you middle class, you can't even afford to. You can't afford to live. You can't afford like these women don't want middle class. I was just talking to a chick the other day. She talking about it, she come down here from New York talking about if you can't take her out and spend $500, you know what I'm saying? She was a bad little chocolate piece, but I was like, so you ain't
here's
even
the
upstairs.
thing. I don't base my success level on how much I can impress, women.
I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying this. If your average female out here, they don't even entertain that. So it's like, okay,
are you basing how well you're doing on how many women will entertain you?
Oh no, hell no. But you know what I'm saying? But my thing is this though. You talking about these men are not broke and so on and so forth, and you doing a direct comparison from that to women. You saying that these dudes.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
You I mean, are you not doing that comparison? Are you not making that comparison?
Well, I'm saying that
are you not saying in comparison to women?
I'm saying that 6 in 10 black men are in the middle class or higher.
And what's the middle class? This is what I'm saying though. If the middle class is still broke by American standards, what is it? It's not an accomplishment. Like what I was taught.
You're saying middle class is not. Basically what you're saying is middle class is not sufficient for you.
It's not sufficient. It's not sufficient for no black man. It's not sufficient for no man.
I get it, but what you do understand that we have to have classifications based on money, social status, education. The middle class composes 6 in 10 black men are in the middle class. It's not just a monetary component. You see, you also talk about education. Go ahead.
Okay, so education. So my thing is this: when it comes to education, like why does education matter? Why does it matter? Like, you know what I'm saying? When you talking about actual actual.
Okay, well, let me give you an example. I'm gonna give you an example, and then we're gonna go to truth telling. Okay.
Yeah.
So, do you have children?
No children, my dog.
Okay. Well, you don't have to call me your dog and all that stuff, brother. We're fine. I'm Dennis. You're Fife Life. Okay. You don't have children. Let's say you have someone you love, right? Do you have a niece or nephew that you love?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Niece or nephew? I'm not sure. Who do you have? Niece or nephew?
Man, I got a whole bunch of nieces and nephews.
All right, just pick your favorite niece. We're talking about the value of education. Your favorite niece gets in a car accident. Your favorite niece has some sort of heart condition. She needs an operation. You go to the hospital. They got a well-trained, well-educated doctor to the left, and then they got the custodian who's uneducated and knows nothing about operating. Who are you going to choose to operate on your niece to save her life?
I'm saying that doesn't answer my question though.
Well, I'm trying to explain to you the importance of education. So I'm going to ask you again.
No, we talk about the importance of education in pertaining to somebody's class.
Well, education is important because there's a monetary component associated with class, and typically your education level is going to determine your ability to how much money you can charge, how much money you get paid. So like, for instance, that doctor is going to get a lot more than that custodian, unless it's a custodian that owns the custodial corporation and he's just there working.
Okay, I got homies that's literally.
In other words, there's a direct correlation between your education and I'll say your skill level. It's the direct correlation between your education and your earning potential. So that's why education is important. I can go work at McDonald's for 10 years and I can make the same amount of money that a person who graduated from a 4-year college in engineering makes. But look, I had to work 10 years. All they had to do was go to school for 4 years. He can get a job. Some people do, some people don't.
Come on,
No, I'm serious. Some people do, some people don't. My children and some other people's children, they probably don't have debt. I have debt, but some people do and some people don't.
Your children's legacies, man.
Yeah, but brother, see, you can make.
You ain't keeping it a buck, bro. So
Let me say this. You can make all the excuses, you know.
No,
but
you making excuses. I'm being a buck, bro. You ain't keeping it a buck, my dog.
Okay.
Can I talk to the young man?
No, let me finish. When you say I'm not keeping it a buck, what do you mean? I'm not keeping it 100. I'm not being honest about what? I pointed out the 6 and 10 black men in the middle class. I pointed out that some people go to school and they have debt, and some people leave school and they have debt, and some people go to school and leave and they don't have debt. That's the true statement.
See, hey, you know, I done been to the coast. Man, I got homies as lawyers. You know what I'm saying? We smoke cigars together, man. I know how y'all talk, man. You running away from what we was just at, and you just pull back to try to assert yourself somewhere else, bro. Come back to me.
I'm just listening. I'm listening to you and I'm letting you speak so we can kind of hear where you're coming from. It's nothing but black men in here, and most of these black men are from the hood, and many of them have had a harder time than you have.
So they can call a spade a spade.
Well, yeah, but
calling a spade a spade, my dog.
Okay, but we're listening. We're trying to understand where you're coming from. And what I was saying before is you can make an excuse for why you don't want to try. But until you actually try, you don't know for sure. You don't have education. You're 36 years old and you have some businesses going. But the problem is your mentality is not correct for what you're trying to do. You see, first of all, you're more concerned about these. Brother, are you still there, Five Life?
I'm letting you talk, man.
Yeah, so first of all, man, you just got to the point where you're about to start making some money. Hopefully you've laid all the foundation you need to lay. You got your licenses. You should be focused on opening businesses, not spending $500. I'm going to tell you like this. At 36 years old, I wouldn't want to spend $500 on a woman. And I was an attorney at that time for almost 10 years. I wouldn't want to do it. That's a waste of money. You see what I'm saying? So that's just something that don't bring how many women or what type of woman or what caliber of woman. Don't bring that into your equation as to how successful you are. Women come because you're successful, period. When you become successful, they can smell it. They just know it. You just have to focus on being the best person that you can be, establishing yourself and establishing your businesses. But I would suggest, I would like to talk to you honestly and just really have a conversation with you and the other men that are like you, because you just got the wrong attitude about it. And I don't mean that in a negative way. You got the wrong attitude about it. You got to shove those excuses aside. Nothing gets in your way. You got to have that sort of mentality. Nothing is going to stop me from accomplishing the goals that I want to accomplish. And I apologize to everybody. We kind of got off the subject that we were on, but it happened. But go ahead, Fife Life, and then I'm gonna go to Truth Teller. Go ahead.
I mean, I ain't got nothing else to say, man. I said my part, man. You can go on to Truth Teller.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Truth Teller, I think you wanted to talk to Fife Life. If you guys appreciate what we're doing here, hit the number one button. We've been here for a while now. It's 9:46. We're about an hour and about 45 minutes past, but I want to give everybody an opportunity to speak. Truth Teller, what are your thoughts on this conversation? Or maybe you want to address Fife Life or somebody else. Go ahead.
Well, I completely I understand where he's coming from. Mm-hmm. So I'm in my mid-40s. I'm from the hood. Yeah. I've been through some stuff in my life. I got 2 sons and a young daughter. 2 sons in college, young daughter moving into high school. Mm-hmm. So I understand where he's coming from, but I also understand what he hasn't seen yet. Mm-hmm. And a bit of advice to the young man. You need to set yourself up for success. You're focusing on what you think is not achievable. You can't afford this. You can't do this. Your job is to find the way.
What say that?
It exists. You gotta find it.
Hold on. Go ahead, Truth. Yeah. Finish.
You gotta find the way. One rule I make sure I teach my sons is the 5 times rule. If you can't afford 5 times the cost of something, that means you can't afford it and you shouldn't be buying it. If we all live with that rule, our entire community would be much further along. And if you live in a community where there's not much work, they don't pay you good, time to move. Find the place that fits you. You have to grab the success. It's not going to come to you and nobody's going to give it to you. So I completely understand what you're saying. And I am from New York. I understand how the lady's mindset might be, especially talking from a young lady from New York. I am married. If I tried to go to a restaurant and spend $500 in a restaurant, my wife would slap me in the back of the head because there's no point in doing that. It's a waste of time and money.
Yeah.
So we need focus on your purpose. And as long as you focusing on your purpose, everything else falls in line as you move forward.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Truth Teller. Last Zulu, you've been patiently waiting. What are your thoughts on this conversation? What would you like to add?
I got necessarily 2 points. I'm gonna try to go through them as soon as I can, or easy as I can, the fast as I can. When it comes to the first thing, I'm gonna address Fire necessarily. I don't know his name necessarily. My brother, and that understanding, man, I see that women should have a decent priority in your life. Unnecessarily, it's exactly whatever you basically what you said. And the reality is, like the conversation of saying that you don't, why should you have an education is kind of funny because right now I'm working on to get my degree in mechanical engineering as we speak currently. I got 2 more years. Your education is probably one of the most powerful
you said
things.
You're working on getting your, tell me again, last Zulu?
Mechanical engineering.
Awesome. And is it your bachelor's or your master's?
It will be my bachelor's, sir.
Congratulations. I want to make sure that we always highlight young men who are working on their education. I want to personally say I'm very proud of you. Thank you for calling in. Thank you for taking time away. This young man is working on his bachelor's degree in engineering. Now, you know, this is the type of things that we need to reward. We typically in the Black community reward the wrong individuals. We want to uplift and reward our young men who are upwardly moving up. I don't care if you just got your plumber's license or your engineering license, but to go through and say, I'm about to get my engineering degree. I wanted just to stick a pin in that. But go ahead, brother. I didn't mean to hold you up, but go ahead.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Because first off, your education is probably one of the most important things. That's one of the things that you can basically, you take that to your grave with you.
Yeah,
that's
answer
the one thing
for us to be able to get our educations, you know, but go ahead.
Yeah. So like I said, basically one of the few things that you say you can take with you to the grave is your education, because you can take that anywhere. I have friends and I have family members necessarily one went to California, one went to Japan necessarily. One is probably making $500,000 there, about $500,000 a year in Japan. The other one is making about maybe 300,000. If I'm guessing, I don't know how much money they make, but he in the 300, close to 400,000 range.
Awesome.
And the reality is, without that education, you would not be able to do that because you can't set the price. And the more lucrative your skills is, or the more rare your skills and talent is, the more you can put a price on that necessarily. Like if I had the elixir to everlasting life and I was the only person in the world to make it, do you know how much money I would own?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know how powerful I would be necessarily if I was the only man in the entire world that knew how to make the elixir to everlasting life.
Right. That's it, man. So we'll give
exactly.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We'll give Fife Life an opportunity to respond. If you guys appreciate this, make sure you hit the number 1 button. Make sure you hit the number 1 button now, and then also contribute to the Super Chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. Fife Life, so you heard the conversations of Truth Teller, and he told you, hey, I'm just like you. I came from where you came from. I even understand New York women, and you shouldn't be focused on those women. And I think last Zulu said, hey, you know what? One thing they can't take away from you is your education. You take that all the way to your grave. So what is your response to that, Fife Life?
Man, I mentioned one instance with a woman. I did not prioritize women through the whole conversation. I mentioned one instance with a woman. I said that you were comparing the middle class men, all these men being middle class to the women. That's all I said about the women.
Would you consider yourself middle class?
I'm technically upper middle class. Technically.
So how much are you making every year, more or less? We don't see you, so how much are you making?
I'm making just over $100,000 a year. 103 was my last.
Okay, and so how many years have you making six figures and above?
Actually, this past year was my best year.
So this is your first year making six figures. How much on average have you made over the past 5 years?
I've averaged between 81 and 93 or 90, 92.
Okay, so it sounds like you're doing good. It sounds like you're definitely in the middle class and you're young, only 36 years old. What are you complaining about?
No, I'm not. See, my whole thing is this. I'm only complaining about you talking about all these men being middle class and praising it. Like it's not nothing to me. It's not nothing to praise because the numbers is messed up. If you look at how people out here living,
what you're saying. Let me summarize because I understand what you're saying. You're basically saying that middle class is still not enough to cause for you to live a certain lifestyle, which with the white picket fence and the two dogs and the cat and the wife and to live happily. These women they don't want a man who works middle class. I get that. I understand where you're coming from, but I'm beyond that understanding. You see what I mean? And that's why I didn't address that directly. I know what you're saying. You're saying it's still not good enough to live the lifestyle I want to live. But see, here's what you got to understand. The vast majority of Americans are middle class or poor.
And the vast majority of Americans
let me finish. So if you got 6 in 10 black men who reached the middle class, when in 1960, 41% of us were poor, not even in the middle class, we were poor. And now that's down to 18%. So we've cut that down in 60 years, a group of people that came up out of slavery. That's a tremendous jump forward.
No, so
it's not. It is to go from 40% poor to 18% poor. And that's a tremendous
stagnant. We've been stagnant. I went to
40% poor, impoverished, to 18% impoverished. That's a huge jump in 60 years.
But the overall wealth of the black man and the black society has not climbed. It's not gone up. We still own one half of 1%.
I get it. I know. I get it. You're citing statistics. I get it. I understand where you're coming from, and those two individuals those people, I get it. But what I'm saying is, when you say wealth, what are you referring to? What are your metrics for wealth?
My metrics for wealth? Wealth is liquid. Wealth is liquid 500K at least.
That's not wealth, brother.
Wealth, okay.
That's not wealth. I can say that's not wealth, man.
You got 500K. Well, okay, by today's metrics, I think it's changed a bit. I think it's like 2 million now that you got to have liquid to be considered wealthy. I know it's changed a bit.
That's not wealth either, brother. That's not wealth.
So I'm sorry. Just so y'all know, I have a degree in finance.
Well, before you have intergenerational money.
Give the brother some advice. Who has a degree in finance?
This is Truth Teller.
All right, go ahead and talk to him. Explain to him what wealth is. But go ahead, and then I'm gonna let him talk. Go ahead.
A couple things you need to understand is wealth doesn't mean that you have cash. That's the first thing. There is a such thing called assets.
Right.
Assets could be a whole slew of things, not just owning a home, not owning stock. So that's what you need to take into account. Most rich people are not cash available.
Right. They're cash.
They don't explain that. Right. They don't explain that to you when you hear it on TV. They're rich. They have assets of this, but most of their assets are never cash. For them to liquidate those assets would take time for them to get their hands on that, pay the taxes, pay whatever the costs are for liquidation.
Didn't you just say that you got to have 5 times the wealth before you buy?
Go ahead.
So You don't. So you have to understand. I guess you're measuring this based on what you heard, what you saw. You need to have $2 million in cash. That's not true. You sell life insurance, right? You selling life insurance is for you to have assets available to you at the end of term. That's considered an asset, by the way. Although
do you understand that?
Paying is a liability, but sorry, go ahead.
Five Live, do you understand that, man?
No, I don't understand it.
Your definition of wealth, is incorrect.
The man just said you gotta have 5 times before you buy something.
Wait, let me clarify. Let me clarify that because I don't think you understood what I said. Let me clarify for the young man.
Yeah.
I said for you to realize when you're gonna buy something, to know that you can afford it, you need to make sure you can pay 5 times that amount. If you can, then you buy that item. That's for you making a budget and staying within your budget. If you're gonna buy a $300 pair of Jordans, if you can't afford $1,500, you shouldn't be buying the $300.
All right. Do you understand what he's saying? That's just a good way to know if you should or shouldn't buy something. A good rule of
man, whatever, man.
Well, brother, you call in. We're trying to help you. We're all black men.
I'm just saying. Every time I try to say something, explain myself, I get muted. You know what I'm saying? You let you with these dudes so you let them talk, but you against what I'm saying, so you cut me off. I feel you, bro. I got you.
Well, we talk. You and I talk for about 15 minutes straight.
Yeah, they're not open. You got to have a key card to get in, my dog. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Five Life, I hope that you've got a chance to say everything you want to say. But what you got to understand is your definition of wealth is incorrect. And on top of that,
so check me out. If you got 2 million liquid, are you not wealthy?
No.
No, so I'm talking about so somebody who can reach out and put their hand on $2 million cash money without taxes associated with it is not wealthy. Okay.
You're rich.
Okay.
But you're not wealthy. You understand the difference between that? Because see, here's the thing, brother. Everybody, let me finish because I've been working with you. You're not listening.
Go ahead.
You're not listening, and we're talking to you. You want to say what you feel and what you think is true, and you're being corrected with love and respect, and you don't want to accept that. You got a man here who's giving you the correct definition of wealth, and you're still trying to enforce your definition of wealth. There's a difference between wealth and being rich, having wealth and having money. You can have $2 million in liquid assets somewhere. That's great. That's not wealth. That's rich. You understand what I mean? It's like the difference between having a farm that grows corn and having a refrigerator full of corn. The refrigerator full of corn would be like rich. Having a farm, a corn farm is being wealthy. Do you understand that analogy?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, we good, man. But I appreciate you calling in. I want to try to get to some other people to get out of here, man. All Father, you've been patiently waiting. What are your thoughts?
Can you hear me, brother?
All Father. Yeah, I can hear you. Unmute yourself. Go ahead, sir.
Okay.
Well, let me say, I know you guys, I get it. Y'all can hear you. I know you guys, y'all can hear you. I know you guys are frustrated. I know you guys are frustrated with the fact that you spent so much time on that young brother. But see, the thing is, like I told you, we can't throw them away. We can't separate ourselves from them. They're going to be with us. They're still, the other groups are still going to push them in with us. So we have to be patient as we can with them and teach them. And hopefully at some point after we collectively begin to talk to them, they'll figure it out. I think all that brother needs, he has the potential. He just needs to, he got his licenses, and hopefully he does. A brother said been making almost $100,000 for 5 years. I'm like, you good. You know what I'm saying? But go ahead, All Father. And then we're going to hit the number 1 button too, guys. If you appreciate this, make sure you contribute to the super chat. Go ahead, All Father.
Well, I was going to speak to Five Life, but he left already?
Yeah, but let's just whatever you're going to say, and then we get out of it.
Okay. Well, I was going to say there is a stark difference between wealth and being rich, right? And since I'm gonna say in 2019, I paid off my
what we
brownstone.
talking about racism, man? We was talking about racism, but go ahead.
What happened?
Go ahead, Alpha. I'm sorry,
What happened?
brother.
I'm sorry. I didn't catch that part. No. It's cool. I was gonna talk to Fife Life, so that's why I came in. But go ahead, bro. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Finish, Father. Go ahead and finish, brother. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say the difference between earning 100,000 and a difference between spending it is totally different, and how you earn wealth and how you earn an income is totally different. Rich folks or wealthy folks do not earn an income, and I am reinventing myself to no longer have to actually pay myself a salary from my businesses. So since I paid off my brownstone in 2019, the value is now thank you very much, bro. Right. The value is 2.1 million. Okay.
Woo! Congratulations.
So thank you so much. I bought the house in 2004 for $274,000.
Oh,
congrats, my man. Congrats.
Thank you, my brother. So since then, I've gone as a broker. I've owned a label through Universal. My artists hit Billboard. All of that stuff is great. But I still did not feel wealthy. I know rich people. I worked at Lazard. I literally held the paperwork of Wesley Snipes. In one account, he had 40 million. You guys don't understand and wrap your head around what real wealth is. He had 40 million in one mutual fund account. He owned 18 accounts. So you guys don't understand. So my reinventing myself, even though I have employees, I have construction crews and blah, 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 is to live in wealth. So instead of me earning, like in Fife Life's instance, he can earn 150,000. Okay. I could earn 100 and still make more than him. Reason being, I can borrow from my bank against my house 100 grand. Right. All I have to pay back is that 3% interest. He's earning 100,000 in a salary, but his tax bracket, and I know because I average 117,000 a year just in real estate. That's just from sales or something else. So I know I was getting taxed in New York City at 37%. So I'm still earning at 100,000 to his 100 more than he is because I am paying 29% less in tax than he is. That's how you accumulate, utilize.
Wealth. Maybe we need to have a conversation amongst you brothers and just talk about finances, because I think that I think that, you know, I try to keep the conversation diverse, and I try to bring everybody in. But I think, and somebody told me this, they said your audience is not like everybody else's audience on the page on YouTube. And so you know, maybe I'll begin to try to shift over a little bit in the coming year. But this ain't the conversation we were supposed to have, fellas.
I'm gonna bounce off here, and that's what I say.
First thing, man, congratulations! I'm proud of you. I'm happy to hear it. You know, and it further reaffirms what I know. I mean, the stats bear it out. We're financially, you got 6 out of 10 black men in the middle class, a large percentage. Right. We're doing much better. I'm proud of you. You know, and I think we need to begin to get rid of that 4% of black men who whine and complain about how there aren't any opportunities. The crazy thing is, Fife Life, according to him, he's making nearly $100,000 a year. And like, what are you complaining about, man? You're good. You know, you're
exactly.
Good.
I didn't get that. And what I was going to ask him or give him an example of.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay. Was he can easily go to a site. There's a site called homefacts.com. And on that site, you can type in your zip code. And once you type in your zip code or an address, the entire area demographic will show up.
Ooh.
So you will see exactly where you fit in, who's blue collar, who's white collar, right there. It's so simple. And the concept of
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Go ahead.
Home facts. That's FACTS.com. Home facts, and just type in an address or a zip code. You'll know where you sit within your area. So if you don't think you're living the life you should be living, like the old psychology thing of the more you earn is the more you burn. That's what plays a part here. But as humans, we always want more, especially we covet what our neighbors see or have. So subconsciously, like for instance, if you want a 1967 Mustang, Dennis, you will start seeing a 1967 Mustang in the street for the next year.
Yeah, you're right. Yep.
Because the human mind works that way. Right. So how Five Life speaks, how Five Life was calling you dog, I just can't wrap my head around how or what industry he is in to manifest that. Not saying he can't make it, but it's just like, wow.
People can be whoever they want to be.
Right. So and that's from my experience is what I'm saying. So I've known rappers and R&B artists and I've managed them and all of that. So I understand you can be successful and still be in your hood. That I get. But it goes to the part when you and I were going back with some other person in one of your threads. It's a matter of how you formulate your thoughts and put it out there is how you build your life. Like the other brother here said, I don't recall his name, but he said the same thing the 5 times and everything. My father always said, if you're spending more than 10% of your income on a car, don't buy it.
And see, the one thing both of you guys share in common is fathers. And we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much, all father. Truth Teller, KT, Devin Lockett, man. My bad, Devin. I had you. Let me go give Devin the last word. Devin, go ahead, man. And this is my other unofficial co-host, man. What you got to say to everybody before we get out of here?
Oh, man, you had another great show, man. You know, we touched on so many topics, man. We really did. You know, the Latin community. The Latin community has its own complexities. When I got to, is that my feedback?
I'm sorry, I got to address somebody. Hold on a minute. Braxton Spivey said the reason that other races of people, mainly the men, are way ahead of ADOS, FBA black men is because they practice group economics and controls an economic landscape of their communities. He says educated lame black guys would have to put their money together and network with each other, first plan out their ideas and make their moves. Educated lames in particular would fix the broken black community, but since their hatred there because of backwards culture, they've been gone and took their resources in other communities. For the most part, we don't get any. What's the point of empowering a black community that's run by the matriarchy? That's what you got to understand. And I think that's where black men are. Why would I rebuild the black community just to have to be forced to? Why do I want to be like grandpa who paid for everything and got no credit for it and got no control of the home? Had no control at all. So, you know, the brothers are saying there's nothing in it for them and they're making a wise decision. Now, if the lovely ladies would, step aside and black men were allowed to be the patriarchs like every other group of men without all that pushback, things would be different, but there's nothing in it for them. You got to get men, you got to get them you have to convince the men, the black men who can, that they should, and you haven't. Who you've rewarded have been the Pookies, the Ray Rays, the guys that you find attractive. They get the lovely ladies, especially when they're young, they ruin them. And then what? And then you want black men who have money and education and to come back and clean it up. That's not going to happen. And And see, you're blaming the generation of black men from the mid-1960s and 1983. Do you know how many of them fought and died in the military? How many of them fought and died in the Marine Corps and the Army? How can you blame them for that? Matter of fact, you have it better than they had it. You make more money, you have more access to education, more access to capital. So what are you doing with it? You're squandering it, and you don't have any major wars to fight. So Braxton, you can't just go blaming the generations before. What about, do you think the people who got out of slavery, their children, did they blame the black people for coming up out of slavery? You got to just think about that. Like, I don't believe in looking back, blaming one generation that came before me. You got the ball now. If that guy was only able to run 3 yards and you expected him to run 6 to get 10, well, damn it, you got 7 yards to run, period. You just got to do what you got to do. You got to deal with it. These are the facts on the ground. Either you're going to deal with it or you're going to roll over and die, period. That's what you got to do. But to say that the generation from 1960 to 1983 failed, how did they fail? Do you see where they came from? They didn't have internet. They didn't have any of this stuff. If they couldn't get a job from a white man at a white corporation, for the most part, they didn't have a job. So what's going to be your excuse? Because see, your children and your children's children are going to hold you to a same burden, if not higher, than everybody else. And I know we've got off the subject. We're talking about, wealth and finance, and that's not what I wanted to do. But either way, I've enjoyed the conversation. Let Devin finish. I just had to address that because I hate that blame game thing, Devin. I hate when they start blaming folks. But go ahead, Devin. The floor is yours. What are your thoughts, man?
I just want to interject that our values, right?
Mm-hmm.
We need to take a look at our values, because I think brothers spend a lot more money than they need to on things just because, you are in a community, whether it's a black community or a white community. Just, I think we think too much about rubbing elbows with others. And maybe we should look more into buying land and homesteading, getting out, away, right? And buying large plots of land and building on them and becoming landowners. Now, it's not as glamorous, right, as having a penthouse or having a nice apartment in the city. But in the end, you can accumulate wealth a lot faster if you own a nice piece of land first.
I do agree with that, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate all you guys. KT, Truth Teller, All Father, everybody, even Braxton Spivey. I give you a hard time because I appreciate you. Also, I want to thank the young man Fife Life who came in. We have a lot of work to do as far as educating those brothers. Again, we can't abandon them. We can't leave them. Just got to help them out. We got to assess them. That don't mean you got to break the bank, but you can definitely give them a good word and move forward. But other than that, and help them assess whatever issues that they may have. But either way, I appreciate you guys. No blame game, Mr. Sperling, sir. I meant
right.
Black community patriarchy is where we. Yeah, you're right about that. But see, the thing
Thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem. Thank you, All Father. But the thing is, Braxton and BGS Idmore talks a lot about this. We never were a patriarchy. And you just go holler at him and ask him that question. But other than that, man, I'm tired, man. I've been on here 3 hours. This is my 3rd, 4th, 5th show today. God bless you. I love you, man. This is Uncle D, man. And as I always say at this time, I'm out.
Peace.